It's working. It's working. I hate YouTube. I hate you, YouTube. I mean, I love YouTube. I love YouTube. YouTube is my favorite company. Did you know? It's not enough. It is not enough. It's not enough that you have to press a button inside of OBS. You have to press a button. You need to press a button in your browser, which is makes me want to kill myself in a video game. Oh my gosh. Oh, help. Hey there. Hello. Insert 5-star name. Oh, okay. Why is it in brackets? Is that a YouTube thing? I don't think YouTube allows brackets. How is everyone doing? Hey, how are you? Hello, hello. Hope you're doing well. Well, thank you. Thank you. Abukar? I do know someone named Abukar. Hello. Hi. I'm glad this is actually somewhat working, because when I was doing this earlier, it was such a pain. Let me tell you. Let me tell you, my week has been rough. YouTube allows... I can't read chat. Brackets. YouTube does allow brackets. Oh, I thought they would have considered that illegal. Would have messed with their, like, JSON or something. Why is the stream in 480p only? Is it just me? Well, it might be my bandwidth, which is entirely possible. And I can't play with that right now, so I'm really sorry. YouTube. I want to. Sometimes I just. Is it really? I hope not. Now you're making me paranoidly check. Sometimes, you know, dealing with YouTube live streams makes me want to game end myself sometimes, let me tell you. Okay, let me look at the stream. No, stop it. Let me look at link. No, 720p. It is just you. I'm not crazy. I did do it right. Ha ha ha. Alright. Why is this? No, it deleted chat. Oh my gosh. Chat, no. Alright, fine. You know what? We're not gonna think about it. What we're gonna do is I am going to just get started, because let me tell you, all of you are like, wow, I've had such a great week. You know, I got to be a 720-60p. It hurt. I'm not gonna say that out loud. You are not debating me. I'm too smart for that. You ain't getting me. I've seen live stream fails. Why is it doing that? Okay, well, it just shows. It's funny. It shows at the bottom. I'll show you. It shows at the bottom. There's like a heart. I don't know why. It's just there. The one thing I can't stand about OBS is you just can't, like, configure the silly little thing here. I think you have to, like, click to make it. No, you can't even click to make it go away. All right. Well, I'm gonna get started. This is. Let me tell you. My week. Wait, is this like an Instagram or TikTok where they press the hearts? Oh, I know an instant. It probably is. Oh, it is. Okay. All right. So, I'm just going to say, what is this whole Zuck thing? ZUCC. What is this whole Zuck thing that these people are talking about? Ha, I knew it. Anyone who knows where that's from. Is it a reaction thing? I'm assuming it is. It's like the, you know, on like Instagram or TikTok where people press a button just to get something to happen, I think. I mean, it's less distracting than Instagram and Facebook. I'll give them that. Because if you've seen like Instagram or Facebook live streams, it's really distracting. I think it's gotten less distracting, but all right. You know what? Floss Garagura. I'm not totally floss. That's a story for another time, though. Garagura. Who's that? Is this someone I should know? Now all of a sudden there's reactions. What am I supposed to know something? Is she someone she or he someone I'm supposed to know? They? Oh my gosh. Alright, well, in any event, here's what's gonna happen today. I'm gonna tell you why the last week I had was awful. Did you see the video on Nico Nico? No. Not enough, apparently, but I agree. But Nico Nico's website is very headache-inducing. It's like imagine Yahoo, and then imagine Yahoo and YouTube had a baby. There you go. Switch my entire setup and server to Nix. Ooh, you know who does use Nix? The guy who runs NoScript. Forgot blanking on his name. I know he uses Nix for his server. VTuber. Okay. Alright, well, I'm gonna tell you why my week was terrible. You wanna know why my week was terrible? Okay. The silver lining of my week is terrible is I can make all of it content. The problem with my week being terrible, it has ruined all of my production schedule. And by that, I mean, I'm typically like, usually a couple days ahead of a video. I used to be really good. Like, I used to be like a full 2 weeks ahead of schedule at all times. Reason why you want to be ahead 2 weeks of a schedule is you can schedule videos on YouTube in advance. And let's say there's a certain hammer that bans people comes, and you can just schedule videos and they'll still go up even if you have a strike. So if you just do that, you can just keep making videos go up. Now, my entire schedule has been ruined for one solitary reason. I accidentally broke Network Manager. Network Manager, yes, you know that thing that lets you connect to like Wi-Fi? Yeah, that Network Manager. Oh, it's awful. So if you go to, let me actually just go over to my desktop and I'll show you. You get to see my desktop. There's not a lot on here, you might say. How come there's not a lot on here? Well, there's not a lot on here because I had to delete everything. By that I mean I had to completely reinstall everything. Now, the benefit of me redoing everything is this lets me reevaluate all of my awful life decisions. And how did you break Network Manager? I accidentally deleted the configuration files. Hello, Dow. I accidentally deleted the configuration files, and I don't have a backup of my root partition, so I was just like, oh, well, I guess I'll just... But then while I was, like, nuking my system, I was like... I was also testing out, like, DNSSEC. But, like, in the process of testing DNSSEC, I basically deleted my Network Manager configuration. So that basically just leaves you literally, quite literally, like, without internet. And it's also highly probable that the configurations that I was attempting were not working because it just... Internet, okay? So now you run Fedora Silverblue. I do not, and I'll get to that in a bit. Because this is not Fedora Silverblue, contrary to popular belief. Should have used Btrfs snapshots. Yes, but Snapper doesn't work. That's the other problem. I figured, well, my system's already screwed. Why don't I just attempt to set up, like, Snapper? Up Bitcreek without a Network Manager. Yup. Yup. I'm glad you used a family-friendly term. We can't have it's, well, I mean, it's 9 minutes in, but whatever, sort of whatever. Fine, fine, sure. But we can't use the naughty word that will get age restrictions. Okay, it won't get age restricted now, but you know YouTube. YouTube. You can see me constantly just opening this. It's because I'm trying to like look at other windows. This is just because I'm still running like mostly stock, you know, mostly, not quite. But this is not Silverblue. This is still my dumpy old normal system. I don't even think I have configuration files in here. Yeah, I don't think I even have configuration files. So like, yeah, because I don't even have my Alacrity configuration files in here. Because I have to go into Borg backup and look. That's what the most annoying part about this is. But the benefit is I actually do use Borg backup, because I didn't before. I actually just had like a cheapo rsync script that would do everything, and now I'm convinced that that was just a that was one of my poor life decisions. Do not, okay, you might think, all right, let me say this, all right? You might think you're better. You might think you're better than the GUI programs. You think you're the next bald Linux YouTuber to move into the cabin in the woods to never touch a GUI program ever again. You're wrong. You're wrong. Just use a GUI backup program. Just use a backup program, okay? Don't write a script. Don't get smart about this. Just use a backup program. You can use KDE's backup tool. You can use Pika. You can use Deja Dupe. Just use something, please. Just use something. Don't think you're better than the system. That is one of the lessons learned for my whole thing. Is don't think that you are better because you're like, oh well, I don't have a backup system on here, and it's like because I use a Python script to back up on I'm just at this point I'm just making stuff up. But if you just have a Python script that backs everything, just it's like don't do it. Just use a dedicated backup program. It's like because like I don't hate myself. Sync thing. Well, sync thing is not for syncing. Sync thing is just like you have to treat it like it's just a connection to another computer. It's not quite the same thing. Now you could set it up so that does sync your whole home folder, which is nice. But in the network manager, but couldn't you set up through a GUI? No, because it was the root file. The root configuration file. I was testing out some changes with MAC addresses, DNSSEC. The MAC addresses stuff, great. It was awesome. But the DNSSEC stuff, not funny. He uses OBS sometimes. I mean, I don't know. I mean, well, considering that sometimes might have been like the beginning of this year. Ever since I completely switched to... I'm gonna read this. Every time I completely neglected setting up snapshots, to be honest. Yeah, set up snapshots. Don't be like me. It's a problem. But this is nice. I was surprised how... this is Pika backup. Surprised at how nice it was. Because I used Deja Dupe, and I always felt Deja Dupe felt a little lacking. But that's not why we're here today. We're here to talk about... things. Let's talk about Distrobox. Oh wait, I don't even have... Wait, do I have it installed? What if I told you I had to reinstall everything this morning? Now, it only took 20 minutes, but it's still incredibly annoying that I had to reinstall everything this morning. DNSSEC would work much better if websites turned it on. Yeah, sounds about right. Can't stand... I like... Look, you use, like... You know, the big DNS providers, you know, like Cloudflare, like Quad9, Google, you know, you'll probably be fine because they support DNSSEC. But using, like, using any of this, like, you know, like any website that has it, it's like, they just don't use it. Oh. When VTubing software is asking for a friend, they're stuck on Windows because they can't find a good one on Linux. Well, technically, I am using a Windows one. The tricky part is you are essentially just using like a hack program to just... Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean hack program. I meant a gaming program. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just admitting to everyone what the status of this whole situation really is. I'll show you. It's actually, this is one of... glad you brought this up because this is a problem with Linux in general. Okay, not Linux in general. This is a Fedora 38 problem. Let me show you what I mean by a Fedora 38 problem. Have you ever wondered how my existence is actually rendered? You can use bottles. But, oh, hold on. Bottles? Really? I don't have my configuration files in here, I don't think. But I can just reset it up. I already ported my Flatpak overrides. It's fine. Like, I could just set up my old setup again. Oh, bottles is gonna do its thing. Well, the point of using bottles is, I only learned this. I'm gonna call her out. Or I don't remember her Twitch handle because I found her on Mastodon. I asked her what she does because I know she does something similar-ish to me. Forget her name. I know her name. I don't remember her Mastodon handle, and now I want to actually look it up because I think I DM'd her in a post and I said, "Hey, can you tell me how you did your thing?" Because I think she also uses Linux. She also uses Linux. I don't remember what distro. I think she uses Arch. I think. In either case, doesn't matter what distro you use. The point is, well, it does, but not in this way. The point is, I asked her, what did you do to get your current setup? Software Made is another Linux VTuber. Yes, she is. Is she a maid? Wait, oh, no, that's a person. Oh, I see. I thought you were talking about no. Person, her name, John. Her name is John? Jean? I don't remember her Mastodon handle. But what she did was, she, like, made it so that what you do is you make a bottle, first off. You make a bottle. Second off, you make it a gaming bottle. But then you install VC Face into the bottle. If you don't know... Oh, for anyone who doesn't know... Let me open another window. For anyone who doesn't know... Oh my gosh. Welcome to trouble. Let me just get another browser. This is one of the annoying things about this. So... Oh. So if you get another browser, what do I need? You need just write your own software. No, you don't have to. Someone did this for me. That's the beauty of this. Someone did this for me. It's called VC Face. Anyone who knows anything about this whole thing, which I had to watch a million videos on, most of which were not correct. I had to watch videos on this to figure out exactly what in the world people were doing. And this is what people use. Apparently it is essentially like the gold standard for just 3D capture in general. Important differentiation there because there's two types. There's like 3D and 2D. I chose to do 3D, and John also uses 3D because it's easy. It's the easiest to manage because there are programs which auto-generate for you avatars using like a template builder. Bottles is such a goofy name for sandboxing. It's not actually doing the sandboxing. Flatpak does the sandboxing. So basically what you do is you go here and you download this, and then what you do is you run this inside of Bottles. Now it's a little weird because it doesn't have an installer. Now, and what's interesting about this is you'll notice that when I hover over the link, you have to look below the YouTube player bar. It's really hard to see. But if I copy this link address, I'll show you what I mean. This is actually a GitHub link. Really? Yeah, it's a GitHub link. But you're wondering, how come this program isn't open source? When you visit it, it's a PNG and a README. How come this program isn't open source? Well, technically it is. The core library that does the facial capture, which is used by a lot of other pieces of software. So like, for example, if you use like VTube Studio, which is a 2D face tracker that you can get on Steam, this does the same thing. It has this library actually built into it. There's a bunch of others. This is basically what it is. But on top of that, the reason why this isn't open source is because it's basically a Unity game. In order to render your models, you need to use Unity. Unity is a proprietary software. Yes, it does. This does not work only on Fedora. You can use it on anything you can get bottles on. And if your computer is good enough, meaning it needs to have a graphics card made in the last like 7 years. Because what I actually do to render my model when I do live streams is I have a second computer that runs my model. And this is what a lot of people do. They usually have a second computer run their model so they can have like their resources free of their host machine to play video games or whatever. See, that's the funny part. Even like the people who do like, I don't know, who do like live games, I guess, I don't know, like who they basically are real people, show their real face. Okay, the people who show the real face, even they use a second computer because to manage like stream rather than put it on their computer. Now my solution's more convoluted because my solution involves doing this hack thing of a cheap Chinese capture card to set up everything in such a way where you can use it. Just hearing about bottles for the first time. Well, the way context bottles comes in is used for a lot of games, but you can't use it for like compatible applications. Like if you use like, I know you can use like iTunes. I don't know why you would, but you could. If anything though, even using iTunes on here, it's like you're still probably better off using a Windows virtual machine to manage iTunes, because I believe when I last did it, it was years ago. It's not iCloud backup, although because that does work. It's the offline device backup doesn't work in iTunes on Linux through Wine. I think. I could be wrong. Maybe someone's done something because Apple doesn't update iTunes. Or they do, but not very well. So you can just go into here, and if you have like iTunes's Windows installer, you can just go and install it. There's a bunch of other weird programs that work, like you can install like Adobe Reader. Why bottles? Can't you use C and Proton? I'm glad you asked, because this is actually a unique feature of bottles that she found, and I didn't know that John found, and I didn't know existed. All right, here's the dealio with bottles, right? Bottles implements an OBS plugin, which makes it so that transparency can be captured from Vulkan applications. So because VC-Face, hop back to VC-Face. VC-Face is compatible with Vulkan. Safari 17 removes blockers from URLs now. Yeah, they're late. You use Safari? I'm sorry. All right. The problem with other applications is other applications don't translate VC-Face's transparent background. Because VC-Face has a transparent background, that's what this gray here is. They just do that as a visual indicator, but the reality is it's actually a transparent background. This transparent background doesn't exist if you use bottles with a special OBS Vulkan capture plugin. Because the point of the Vulkan capture plugin initially was you can use a Vulkan program, like say a video game, and just raw capture the video game rather than finagling of OBS's screen capture or window capture. You just, with the plugin, you can directly capture the game. But because VC-Face has a transparent background, you can always get a transparent background in OBS. Now, I'm not doing that here because of the way my setup works, and if I was really doing this right, I would have my OBS on the other computer, but I can't because I need to just buy a capture card and stop being such a cheapskate. And the other reason why this offset production a lot is because anyone who knows anything about forget all this stuff, forget all this, forget all the VTubing. What's an issue with this right now? First off, some people might consider this an upside, and in some ways, it is an upside. Like if you go to, I'll show you, NeoFetch. Everyone loves NeoFetch, right? I think this is what shocks people the most. Number of packages I had was, I think it was originally around 3,000. I think it was just junk that I accumulated over the years. Plus, it also included all of LaTeX, and I did not install all of LaTeX this time, because I used to use LaTeX for personal writing a lot because I like to configure the PDFs. But I'm a bit past that point now. Because I did try like writing like one like funsy poem paper. Well, not a poem, but like a short story. Always gotta have some little hardware must have. Yes, but that little hardware is expensive. It's like $100. It's like why I don't have a real microphone. You ever wonder all those people who have microphones? There's a reason they do, because it sounds better than my crummy setup. But at least I got mine for the price of free. And even if it wasn't free, I think it was... This technically comes from my brother, because my brother's a gamer. Can't stand those gamers. Basically, he used to use this for his video games. His, like when he just, you know, it's exactly what you think. It's like, you know, people play like, I don't know, what's a game do people play today? Valorant. Yeah, he's playing Valorant, sure. He's playing Valorant or something. And then you just go in the Discord and you have a microphone. I think he upgraded to the Blue Eddy. Whatever Blue Eddy we're on now. I also do a lot of stuff. I have 1400 on Arch after a... Well, see, here's the problem with this number. Everyone's bragging about their package numbers in chat. Let me tell you, this number doesn't mean anything. What? Yeah, it doesn't mean anything, because that number proportionately means something different depending on what distro you're using. And I can also guarantee you right now, 2 of these RPMs don't even come from Fedora. They're stuff I had to install myself. That's like Veracrypt and like Sparrow Wallet. Okay, this is like stuff you can't install from like, yeah, you just get antsy if I go over 800 packages. No, just use what you need. Don't let this stupid little number dictate everything in your life. It's insane. That's insane. It's just a bad way of thinking. I don't know, like, why people get so sensitive about like the number of packages that they use, but it's like, seriously guys, come on, please. It's just, I have a lot of stuff compiled from source. Same here, but it's only like 3 programs. That's more than some people apparently. I have to try to compile my own RPMs, but let's... I've complained about this enough. This is basically, right now, NVENC. Okay, you know, Nvidia NVENC, it works on Flatpak. It's actually how I'm talking to you right now. NVENC on Flatpak still works great. NVENC on the host system doesn't work at all. Like if you go to like try to convert like NVENC, oh, I don't even have a video, but let's say you have like an NVENC, I'm not even using CSH, oh my gosh. So if you go to yeah, let me go to my own little thing. This is just where I dump a lot of stuff. Is it in here? Oh, I don't remember. In any event, if you try to convert a video with NVENC, it doesn't work. Anyone able to find a new ISO for Debian? Are you doing this because of the Linux experiment? He got the beta version. That is, well, okay, it's not really a beta. It's more like the final freeze of Debian 12. It's not available yet. It's probably available at the end of June. So don't go thinking you can go find it now. The one on the website is still 11. I believe it's at the end of June that they're going to show it. We also have terabytes of storage of today. Not having a lot of packages. It depends on what kind of device you have. And I caution people against that because people always, you know, to this day, I still get comments of people telling me Flatpaks ate up gigabytes are going to eat up more space on my system. What was my first Linux? Debian Wheezy. I think it was Debian Wheezy, which is like Debian 8 or 9. I think it was Debian 9. Whichever one it was. The problem is they're all named after like Toy Story characters, so I don't even know like what the real thing is. 1,016 packages on Ardix. That's not a whole lot, but if you saw my last stream, you probably wouldn't want to be using Ardix. Debian 12 is supposed to be out today. Well, I guess it's not available then. Oops! Debian. Come on, just give him a break. You've got a month. No, you don't even have a month to upgrade. You have like 2 years to upgrade. That's how Debian works, because it's like this weird like 3 years, and then it's like, okay, we released a new version, then you got 2 years to upgrade. So they're pretty lenient. And I only say to be cognizant of space because, look, let me tell you, I have a computer with 64 gigabytes of memory. That's right, 64 gigabytes of storage to use, and 12 of which are eaten up by like Fedora, and at one point were eaten up by just Arch Linux because it used to be running Arch because that was just better at the time. But my Arch script got really messed up, and then I was like, you know what? No, and then also because I figured, oh, do you still use VPNs? Look, I think it depends on what you're going for, because let me tell you this: if you say you live at home, you know, Devin Wheezy 7. Oh wow, okay. Well, I guess that proves how old I am. But I was like at the tail end of like Wheezy. Like I had to go, like I downloaded it like the month they were like upgrading to like Debian Stretch, right? Man, that was a real adventure. Was it Stretch? What's the one that came after Wheezy? I need to look now. The one that came after Wheezy was probably I think it was, oh, let me look. My GNOME software open. Okay, Debian releases. I know this is awful. I just have to go look at her. Oh, okay, thank you. All right. So Wheezy, it was Jesse. So I was wrong, it's just Jesse. No, I started with Jesse. I'm wrong. It was 8. I was 8. I just got the names messed up because I read this once and it got me ruined. So it was Debian 8. I started with Debian Jesse, which was the month Jesse was released. The most sensible naming things. It was Jesse. Yes, Jesse was Debian 8. That's what it was. It was not Wheezy. I just got confused. Probably because I was also confused at the time. When you look up guides online, all of the guides online are for Debian Wheezy, but then you go open the sources.list and it says this thing called Jesse, and then you get really confused. Have you ever tried any window managers? Yes, I've tried all of them. Don't use them. Look, if you're gonna use one, just do Sway or something. Just probably just Sway at this point. I can't recommend the rest of them. You don't support Wayland? Game over. Game over. Just use Sway, okay? I'm sure it'll be fine. I actually run Sway on my laptop. It's great. You'll like it. Started on Ubuntu in 2011 with an Acer Aspire, 1 GB of RAM, 500 GB hard drive. Wow. While Debian 8 still has support. I believe because it is a 10-year cycle, it's going to end soon, probably in a few years, but it's not good. Like when you enter extended LTS support, you do not want that, because that means that you're not receiving, you're potentially not receiving security updates anymore. The security well, you can receive some, but not to the degree that you would if you were on Buster, Bullseye, for example. Hyperland. Haven't got it to work. I know there's a Fedora Copper, and then there's an Arch Linux native package, but haven't got into it. And I also know this the other reason why I don't use window managers is because all of them are incredibly hostile towards Nvidia. The bane of my existence, quite literally, is Nvidia. Like, it limits the choice of what I can do a lot of the time. Now, one of the other things is I'm sure you can get it to work. I'm pretty sure there's like a bunch of I found like one guide from like someone on Arch's forums which said that there's a way to get Sway working. I tried all of it and none of it worked. So, you know, maybe I'm being too negative. Maybe I'm being too minimal. I'm using OpenBox. I'm sorry. You shouldn't be using OpenBox. That thing isn't even updated. Look, this is a sad reality I think people need to come to, but if you're like I know this might sound bad, and I know there's like people out there who say like Linux is about your choice or whatever. I'm on River. Not many features. I don't know anything about River. Sorry. I know it is Wayland, and that is it. That is all I know. Let me tell you something. But what if you had an AMD GPU? Oh, then maybe I'd be using it. I don't know. I'd have to write the configuration file for it though. But the problem is with Nvidia, the things I really love about Nvidia are NVENC encoding, which is awesome because I render video all the time, and NVENC encoding is a lifesaver. And DaVinci Resolve. I know you can get DaVinci Resolve working in a Docker container or something, which would totally work on Linux, but you wouldn't get access to some of the stuff that you would have if you were using Nvidia. Hardening works really well. The only real difference is the init system. No, it's not, because they don't update packages. If they can't even update like basic things like the Linux kernel properly, I'm sorry, but you're just dead. You're dead. It's like you need to keep that thing updated on a rolling release distro. Been on Debian Bookworm since March using Sway. Works shockingly well because I'm on AMD Flatpak. So I don't need to worry about it. Yes, that's the point of Flatpak. I use BSPWM and DWM. Had a baby. I hated it. It hated its parents, so I went to Wayland and got written in Zig. I don't know what that means. I'll pretend I understood what that meant. I like your sarcastic takes on everything. Well, it's not sarcasm. I am a realist. Most people are not realists. I am a realist. Okay? My rule of thumb is you just need to suck it up and just admit that there are some things that work better in other places. What's that? You want to use Adobe products? Go use a Mac. Not even Windows. Not even Windows. Just use a Mac. Have you ever used Adobe on Windows? It's bad. It's really bad. Zig is a programming language. Never heard of it. DWM user, it sounds amazing, but although I have some obscure issues with Wayland. Look, guys, I think we need to be pushing for. All right, let me before I get too toxic, let me say this. The reason why I push so hard for things like rolling releases, Wayland, Pipewire. Pipewire maybe doesn't come off in my videos as much because it's hard to explain to people, but like Pipewire and portals, I lump them together because you need both to get them to work. The reason why you need to use it is because these are the standards that are being decided by like the governing bodies of Linux, like Red Hat and like Ubuntu or Canonical, Debian, it's SUSE. It's being decided by all of them, and it's like we need to use it. And when you look at a lot of, even maybe this is a future video, but when you look at things like desktop environments or your window managers, the reality is, it's a harsh one, that desktop environments and window managers, most of them are worthless. And I don't mean that they don't provide value to people. I mean that we need to be using stuff that can be developed quickly, adopt features quickly, and receive attention if there are problems or security updates. Now, that being said, I understand that there's a point for some programs, like XFCE, for example, because someone wants a minimal graphical experience or blah, blah, blah. But inherently, using something like XFCE means that you are intentionally taking a trade-off. How bad is it to stay on X11? Bad. Really bad. Don't do it. You can move to Wayland, just do it. Just do it. I know there are usability trade-offs, but the reality is, most normal people can move to Wayland and be fine. The point of adopting these new technologies is we need to be using these new technologies, because if we aren't using these new technologies, like you're going to be dragged kicking and screaming into the future, whether you want it or not. So accept it now, so that by the time it's mature, you will be impressed with the software and you will be happier with your life. And this is what I mean by I am a pragmatist, because I've seen this happen before. Like, we've seen all of this stuff happen before in the computing industry. We've seen this happen with stuff like in Windows, you know, like raising the hardware requirements between like Windows XP and Windows Vista and 7. Now, I know that's a weird example, but you know, I think it's a lesson that we can learn from when we look back at like what happened between Vista and 7 versus what we deal with today between like Windows 10, 11, maybe 12. That's the kind of, like, there's a reason why it's there. People, and of course there are ulterior motives to it, but there's actually some good reasons underneath those changes to why it needs to be that way. Like, the issue with the issue with people not using like these like things, it's like, and it's not just the hardware requirements thing between like Vista and XP, because that was really just Steven Sinofsky. Steven Sinofsky is crazy. He still is crazy. Like, you can't do stuff like that. But Windows 7 did offer tangible improvements. Windows 7 and Vista did offer tangible improvements to XP, except for Vista not being able to run, period, because no computer was good enough to run Vista at the time, reasonably speaking. I mean, it was fine. Like, your computer would still work, but like most computers that could run XP couldn't run Vista. But what it did do was it gave way for more like creative things to be done with Windows. And like the same argument could be said, like, you know, with UEFI, right? This is probably what I'm going to be doing a video on in a few weeks. UEFI was a standard that was created in like the early 2000s, and it wasn't forced upon people until 2014. But all of a sudden, when it's forced onto people, everyone is losing their minds over like UEFI, even though it is objectively better, has better firmware and driver control, is better for your BIOS and your motherboard, and is just all around better. No, there's still people like getting up in arms about UEFI, mostly on Linux, but some on Windows as well. I think even Apple took a long time to even adopt No, I don't think Apple took a long time, but Apple, they kind of did it around the same time too. So it's like, I mean, Apple kind of did it within the timeline. But the point is, it's like, there are all these standards. We need to have better, like, we need to be using the future stuff. The future stuff is what's going to be there, and it's better you set it up now and not be like me, because I'll hop back to the desktop, because here's yet another thing that I tried, and I'll show you, because this is actually what I consider this a minor victory. Okay, maybe not a minor victory. Care about glibc or Musil. If you can use Musil, use Musil. If you can't, well, I'm not too bent up about it. Especially if I know the Nvidia driver is non-secure, but it literally killed the bootloader on my new Fedora install. Did you install it through EFI or UEFI? Now, that's actually an important thing, because this is what I'm talking about. Most people experience EFI and UEFI. Your bootloader was probably killed off because of UEFI, because it is an EFI boot, and this is something that needs to be set up when you first install your thing. There's probably a way to do it if you've already booted into your system, but I don't know how to do it, so I reinstalled. That's the other reason why I reinstalled, as convoluted as it sounds. Because if I go to, this is my own settings, so this is, you can't see this monitor, it's what I use to read chat, but what you do is, when I unironically think Alpine would have more potential as distro if they got to get into more desktop usage. Fair. It's just really hard for normal people to use Alpine, if we're being honest. But if you go to, I don't know, what's a good example? Yeah, so if you go to, this is available in KDE. It's probably more readable in KDE, but it's definitely more buried away. I don't know how you get this otherwise, but you need to go to Love this one. The dreaded device security menu. The device security menu is hilarious because what's this? Hate how it doesn't have Wayland support, especially isn't updated very often. And this is my point, right? If you're not being updated, you're not adopting future technologies at a fast enough pace, maybe you should consider not using it. And unfortunately, like, it would be really great if something like XFCE exists, because it's very difficult for me to suggest something right now to people with like low-end computers. And it's like, I have to tell them to use XFCE, and it's like, it just feels bad, man. All right, secure boot. Secure boot is a thing. You need it. Now, the check thing doesn't exactly work because I don't know why. I think there was something related to like Fedora 37 they changed with this, but I'm not entirely sure. But they say here you can copy a technical report. Let me just open this in a new window and I'll show you what this looks like. So if you open this in like a text editor, oh, well, it doesn't have my configuration files. Well, just open LibreOffice then. I just guess it's close enough. Oh my gosh. All right, I'll try to explain some of this to the best of my ability. I'm not the most, I don't know all of this. I up to 2 to 3 times a week. Good. But it's not good if your distro doesn't support updates for a long period of time. The point of this is, if you look at a lot of the security options that are in Windows and Linux, just Linux. Windows doesn't even help you with this. Well, they sort of do if you do group policy or whatever, but whatever. Linux, if you go into this device security menu, I don't remember how exactly this report's generated. I know it's done in GNOME and KDE. There's probably a way to do it without GNOME and KDE. I just don't know what it is. So if you go into, so basically you need to have all of these things, and you need to go through all of these things and just do some quick tests. That's basically what this is. It runs a series of tests on some things. Now, my rule of thumb is you should try to have everything in this category. Anything else, and then especially the stuff in this category, but once you get into here, it kind of is like diminishing returns. Like, for example, encrypted RAM, this doesn't matter because Fedora uses ZRAM, for example. That's more, I don't know why that works the way that it does, but that's just how it is. But you want to make the Intel management version, you can't, like System 76 disabling the Intel management engine. Well, did you know they don't actually turn it off? And that's an important distinction, because previously with the Intel management engine, people would just rip it out altogether. But what they do instead is they disable it so it can still function to a minimal degree, but not have like the potential security crises that came in like 2017 when it was like a big problem. It was like 6 years ago, but whatever. Then you also need to have UEFI, right? UEFI booting. It's just the way the world's going. If you're using EFI booting, I'm sorry, but you need to do what I did and just reinstall, because UEFI is a big need. Firmware BIOS. You need just put a password on it. Like, just make sure no one can touch it. If you have a computer made in the last 10 years, it's probably and just slap a password on it. Firmware write lock. Nice. But you'll notice this is the big problem, is you need to be using TPM, right? TPM is the future because Windows 11 decided it was the future. Now, there's an argument to be made that Windows did put a little too much faith into TPM as opposed to what Apple does, where Apple's is a lot more sophisticated. Now, this has gotten a lot better because when you consider things like Intel Boot Guard or like AMD or like Microsoft's Pluton, for example, that helps a lot. And while they're not nearly as good as what you'd see on Apple's devices or on Android, it's pretty close. It'll get you most of the way there. One encrypted RAM protects you against cold boot attacks. 0 is only for hibernation. I think it's the way Fedora does it that it prevents it from happening. I'm not quite sure. I don't know entirely. Platform debugging. Basically, just have all of these, okay? And Intel management, blah, blah, blah. You need to make sure there's a little description here. And then this stuff is all for if you use like the most recent Intel. And then if you need to be using a distro with 6.3, so if I hop back to if I hop back to this desktop here, you'll see that if you run, oh my gosh, We do neofetch because it's more legible. We do neofetch. Linux 6.3. Linux 6.3 has access to Pluton, so Pluton is natively supported in Linux. I think that went through. I don't know. I have not tested it because I don't have a device that's compatible with Pluton. But that's what this is. Right now, because Intel has been the one that's directly worked with Linux, Intel right now is more where I would lean, despite the fact that you read a lot about AMD getting better and better and whatnot. I mean, they might be better for a graphics card. Depends on what you're looking for, though. And then this stuff is like, I don't know this stuff at all. Like suspend to RAM and encrypted swap, for example. You probably need these, but it's kind of, at this point, it's like, with a lot of things, it's kind of, you know, diminishing returns. But it still would be awesome if you had any of these. Oh, whatever. And then kernel verification. So if you make changes to the kernel, like what you have to do with Nvidia, you need to write your own boot signing key and sign your kernel so Nvidia boots and you have secure boot. This is why I have secure boot. And if I hop back to the thing here, you can see that I am using Nvidia with the proprietary. Well, okay, maybe this isn't proof that I use the proprietary driver, but I'm streaming to you in NVENC right now. I am using proprietary driver. I assure you it works. As long as you write your own boot signing key. But it does mess up the kernel verification because it technically wasn't created by Fedora, so it creates a false flag. Although, it's not wrong because you are technically modifying the kernel by adding this additional signature to it. And then there's a Drakit thing which automatically runs every time the kernel's rebuilt, so that way when you update the Nvidia driver, it's automatically done so everything boots up just nicely. Worst case scenario, I mean, you could just boot in before it. But that's more of like an Arch Linux thing. That's the benefit of Arch Linux. You get the boot CD that has that you can just like pack strap into. Really nice. It doesn't have that. All right. Enough about complaining about booting and packages and the fact that I'm an old geezer who used Debian Jesse. Let's get into Silverblue. Now I did install this. And then while I do this, I'm going to have the documentation side by side because I already installed it. You know, it's basically Fedora's depressing Anaconda installer. It's about what you'd expect. Like, you can see it boots up just fine. It's going to keep going. All right. And then it's going to present you, you know, the same old stuff that you'd expect Fedora to do. If anything, you could present this to a normal person. Probably wouldn't even be able to tell. You probably wouldn't even be able to tell the difference. All looks the same to them. Look through setup. Location services. Interestingly enough, this is different from Fedora's default. Because with Fedora's default, they do include the abort reporting services. That's like abort without the O. I don't know why they do this. Computer people thing. Third-party repositories. You can enable third-party repositories. Personally, I've always found them useless, but if you want like Google Chrome or something, you can do that. Accounts. You can sign into an account. Like in theory, like I could sign into my Google account. I'm not gonna do that now. I'm streaming. Enter your name, user. Yeah. Enter your password. That totally isn't password. Yep. Next. And you can start using it. But when you boot it up, you're gonna look at it, you're gonna be like, this looks exactly the same. In a way, it is kind of exactly the same. You know, same old normal applications you'd expect. The goal, though, is, and this is the cool part that I actually really like about it, you can see if you boot up a terminal, this is proof you are running Fedora Silverblue. The terminal is running on the host system, which allows you to use things like chip password strength checker calling me out. This is, oh, hey, welcome to, hey, be glad Linux even has one. Mac and Windows don't even have one. Pretty sure Apple barely updates their installer too. Like Windows changes their installer like every single like release because they just can't help themselves. Then they have hyperlinked here the documentation for Toolbox. Toolbox would be something I would like to learn. I feel really bad for all the people online who have to test various programs and they're doing it on their host system, and it's like, that's the whole point of this. Is why Toolbox should have gotten more marketing from Red Hat, because it's a cool idea. It's a cool idea, like being able to open a container and running like any program you want. I've installed Arch Linux with dual boot on Windows. Always have that USB stick. Yes, sir. Cannot be without that Arch Linux or Ventoy USB with distro on it. You need it. Basically, what you do here is I have to look at the documentation while I do this. I do it because I'm an old man. I need to read the thing while I'm doing it. Wait, where the heck did it go? Oh, it's over here now. You're not supposed to be over there. So keep this. I'm keeping this in a second. This in this sort of split layout now, just so you can see what's happening here. So they have here the documentation, which I'll copy the hyperlink address and just paste over here. You can see that the Spice Git agent works, which is why my mouse is able to move seamlessly between the two. Just a nice little touch. And this just leads to the Toolbox's documentation, but we're gonna go to Silverblue's documentation. If you're using Kinoit or Saracea, same thing. Actually know how to say them now. I looked up the Wikipedia pronunciation, I promise. So with Silverblue, Kinoit, Saracea, any of the future immutable spins, all the same kind of deal. Now here's some of the cool things we can get into. This is actually what I consider primarily one of the best features about Fedora Silverblue, and it saves me YouTube comments. You're like, YouTube comments? What do you mean? I want less YouTube comments of people telling me I would like to use a stable distribution because rolling releases break all the time. Your answer? Have a rolling release, but make it immutable. That is the answer that Fedora Silverblue and SUSE's MicroOS provide to you. They just choose to go about it in very different ways. NixOS, I believe, is also rolling release. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it also is. But NixOS operates with the same kind of philosophy, right? You can always have Nix makes it so rather than centering everything around OS3 and Flatpak, they center everything around their own package manager. Vanilla, and same thing with Vanilla OS, Blend OS, they have their own package managers that everything centers around. And then whereas when you use MicroOS centers around Butterfest snapshots for saving and Flatpak and a bunch of other stuff. But for simplicity's sake, let's just do Fedora Silverblue. Fedora Silverblue requires that you get everything through Flatpak. Guys, I've been telling you all this time, this thing has been out since Fedora 33. And let me tell you, you need to be using Flatpak for everything. I know there are some applications you probably use which don't work all that great. Are any drivers or problems? No. Drivers are probably fine. You probably won't experience anything. When I've attempted to do this on a spare computer, I never had an issue with drivers, ever. Not even with Nvidia, shockingly enough. I mean, aside from the usual Nvidia culprits, but no driver problems. It's really just a different way of the way to view Fedora Silverblue is viewing it as a way to, as a window, so to speak, into how amazing the future might be. And in a way, I feel like Silverblue and a lot of these immutable distributions do it on Linux. They do it loads better than what you'll see on Mac OS or iOS, for example, where Mac OS and iOS use an image-based approach to install their updates, but it always takes 10 million years because they have to do this outdated thing where they install the entire image from Apple servers and then plug it into your computer or phone. And it's like, why would you do that? That just seems like a pain. Whereas the method that Fedora uses prevents, because it's using Flatpak and rpm-ostree, it functions more closer to the way Git functions. Now, I'm not going to pretend I know Git. I think the guy who made Git was a Git, and I know that was the intention if you look up the originality of the meaning of Git. The point is, when you set up something in Fedora Silverblue, it's set up the way you would expect something to be set up, the same way as a branch on a Git server. So every tiny little change is saved individually onto your system. Like every single little thing, and it's all that, and this is what they mean by transactional. So that way everyone can set up everything, and it will just they can, and all the changes are marked so that that way the system can roll back and changes can be put back. It's the same way of merging branches on the Git thing. The same, but for people who don't know, it's basically like it makes your operating system more closer to literal building blocks. But with one big block that holds a bunch of little blocks. So you just move the one big block to do what you want. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So this is why they use Flatpak. Probably know how to set up Flatpak. You don't, just copy paste this command, you'll be fine. It's supported on Fedora by default now. Wasn't before, but now it is. You hear that, Elementary OS? Hear that, Ubuntu? Okay, great. Then what you can do is that's Flatpaks. So that's how you install all of your graphical applications. You would install all of your graphical applications on Flatpak. But hang on, how do I install my command line packages? Like, for example, I use, let's say Newsboat, right? The RSS feed reader. I use Newsboat as my RSS feed reader. But if I don't want to use Newsboat on here, how do I? It's a command line based application, and Flatpak's only for GUI applications. How do I download Newsboat? And this is where we get into what's called package layering. So the examples that they use here, okay, don't do this one. They put Sway, for example. Do not do this. Just rebase your system on Saracea. You'll be fine. But for example, if you want to download Virt Manager, right? I want to download virtual machines. So you want to do Fish. You know, you want to download the Fish shell or ZSH, right? Which most people probably do because Bash is kind of depressing. Just, you can do that. And that's the cool thing about package layering. And they will let you do this. It's just you're doing it in a different way than you would normally expect. So you can still install RPM packages because you can see Flatpaks here. You can install something from a Flatpak. But let's say you wanted to do something. Let's say you wanted to do something else. Like you wanted to download. I'll take their example here. Let's say you want to download the Fish shell. You like Fish. You know, I'm not gonna blame you for liking Fish. I'm sure some people like it. I'm pretty sure it's pretty popular. What you want to do, and this is the cool part about this, you just do rpm-ostree install Fish. And then what this does is you'll see it checks out this tree of the water droplet sound. You mean the toilet sounds of GNOME? I cannot stand like the toilet sounds of GNOME. They irritate me so much. But as you can see, it's installing a bunch of updates, and it's going to tank my stream quality probably. But it's just updating metadata right now. You can probably hear my computer spin up because it's doing all of it within the virtual machine. But what this does is this will install Fish. And you'll notice that you don't run this as root. That's the key thing here. When you run DNF, or soon to be DNF5, when you run those, you're actually just running like it as root, and that's just bad. Like, it's just so bad when you think about it. It's like, there's a reason why when you look at like macOS is the better example of this. Windows is just bad. Like, Windows doesn't even manage the permission properly. They kind of do, but they don't. Like, when you use like a Mac, what they do is they organize it so that when you do it, you're never they protect the root user off a lot. I use the Fish shell. See, I knew there was someone who uses the Fish shell. So what you do is you don't have to run this as root, and it instantly puts macOS to shame because you have to enter in a password just to like drag and drop something into the applications folder. Like, this is why this is just so much better. There are some drawbacks though. You can tell they're working on it because you'll see here, I just installed Fish. I just rebased my system on the latest and greatest packages. This literally just installed the latest image of Fedora Silverblue. But one of the things that you'll notice is if I type in Fish, command not found. How come can't use Fish? It's because you need to reboot. Every program, I'm assuming you can type. I'm really bad at touch typing. Every program is just a reboot away. Now I know some people were like, I don't want to reboot every time I want to test out a program. That's not the point of Fedora Silverblue or Immutable distributions. You're not supposed to test anything on your host system. If you are testing it on your host system, you are doing it wrong. And that is the truth. If you are testing something on your host system, you are doing it wrong. Don't be like me and make changes to Network Manager in your root folder and accidentally break your configuration files because that is doing it wrong. You do it in a virtual machine where it can't go wrong. But the beauty of Immutable distributions is when you're deploying it to production-based hardware, like look, you got Fish, and then you can use Fish the same way you would expect on any other distribution. When you test out programs, don't test it out on your real machine. The point of stuff like virtual machines and Toolbox is you do it in a container or a virtual machine. So when something goes wrong, you can just destroy the container of the virtual machine and get back up and running again and be done. So all these people saying, I don't want to reboot every time I test out a program, don't test out your programs on your whole system. Including me, by the way. If you ever see me, like, unless I recommend a program and I say, I am doing this, I only test it out because that's when I say, I believe in this program because I trusted it enough to install it on my host system. And this is the same kind of mentality you have when you use program in Silverblue. And that's what's really cool here. Now, the other thing you might want to do is you might want to replace packages of older versions. This is actually probably a bad practice, but you can still do it. Like if you want to replace packages of older versions, like say if there's a breakage with a current version, you can roll back individual packages so that downgrades the package for you. And that's what this is. Not too familiar with it, but you basically have to go to Fedora's obscure packaging website and look for the number of package you want. And remember when I ran rpm-ostree. It installs that update, runs it in such a way where you can view this exact Lincoln number. So you can get that package back and be up and running again. And you also can add other packages, like for example, don't do this. I learned my lesson from some people who chided me on Mastodon. Don't do this, okay? You can install, like, say for example, they present here Tailscale. You want to install Tailscale on your computer. First, what you do is you just output the repo into your current image system. So that's yum-repos.d. That's your current operating system. But if you rebooted or downloaded an update without installing Tailscale, that would delete it entirely. But when you do it this way, you can still add third-party repositories. Basically, you can still add third-party repositories. You want to add, like, I don't know, what's an actual third-party repository people use? Like, Proton VPN. I hate Proton VPN, but let's just say you use Proton VPN. You add Proton VPN's repo, you put it in the thing, done. Let's say, what's another one? Let's say you have like a Copper repository, right? So if you wanted to install something from Fedora's Copper, it's kind of like their AUR. You can do the same thing. You just bring the repository. Well, you just bring the repository here. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Stuff like that. Third-party repos. This is what you do. But yes, here's the problem though. But now we start entering some of the problems. I've talked about how much I love OS rollbacks and upgrades, which I just did. Upgrade everything, rebasing on a current system. What's cool about this is you can rebase. So if you don't like, let's say you change Silverblue, you can even just change this to Kinoi. And you can just move straight to Kinoi, and then you just drop right into a perfect, unblemished KDE system. And it's nice. That's really, or like, let's say you want to try out Sway, you know, you do Saracia. Like, that's really nice. Really love that. Rollback, And then with rollbacks, I think I need to issue like a forced power off or something just to get this to work. Probably not. Basically, there's a boot menu. For those who don't know, the boot menu will show up here. Yeah, here we go. The boot menu here actually shows here the current updates of where you stand, and this is the previous OSs that you used to be using. The previous OSs, so you'll see here, this is June 10th. This is the update that I just installed, and this is going to be the one that I have with Fish. But the one just before this one, this was the base install. So this was the original base image of Silverblue. But if I go, and this would be the one without Fish. And what's cool is you can hop back and forth between each one. So no matter what, you will always have at least one working operating system. And that's amazing. That being said, I'm sure some people have been waiting for this. I want to talk about some of the problems. And the problems I consider are, they're serious, but I don't think they're unfixable. If anything, I think they are undiscoverable. Like, well, and that's an important distinction, because the problems that I'm asking for can be fixed and can work within the system, but they're not discoverable, and the documentation is bad and doesn't tell you how to do any of them, despite providing you all of these amazing resources and cheat sheet and telling you instructions on how to do everything. It doesn't tell you the things that I consider like critical to do in your operating system. You're like, what does that mean? I'll tell you how. I'll use this as an example because this is a bad example. This is a bad example. Don't do this, because I don't recommend doing this on your real computer anyway, but I'm going to do this for the sake of demonstration. Let's say you want to block something in your host file. Guys, we all know if you have a home firewall, you should be using your home firewall, not doing things in your host file. I think that's pretty understandable. But here's an issue. Do you know anything about programming? Nope. Didn't study programming in school. Could have me fooled. Don't know anything about programming. I do know a little bit of Bash, a tiny bit of Ruby, a tiny bit of Python, a little bit of C. Not a lot. Just enough to get my crap done. That is the way I function. The only things I learn are the things I learn to get my stuff done. If you don't get my stuff done, I'm not gonna learn it. Like, do I need to know like Fortran? No, I don't. I am not going to be learning Fortran in 2023. It is not worth my time. The same reason why it's not worth it for me to learn all these low-level languages, because I'm not going to be making a program or something that's that close to like hardware, because I am like, I'm a big idiot, okay? Did you know it took me literal months to get GitHub, I barely update my GitLab to work properly, and it still doesn't build properly, but I successfully uploaded to it. That's something, right? Actually, am I still logged in? I have to check. Probably not, because I had to reinstall everything, so I'm not logged in anymore. Now, the point of the GitLab of this whole thing is you go into your host file. You can't change anything. Oh, okay, that's not true. You can change something, but there's a high probability that when you change something, it's going to be overridden and it's going to be changed. I actually do know a little bit of PowerShell. Not enough, though. I should know more PowerShell. Plan to write software sometime in the future. See, but that's what you plan to do. That's what's practical for you, because you want to do that in the future. I am too old. I've gotten this far in life without having to learn how to write software, even though I have to write scripts to solve dumb problems in my day job. Like someone telling me, can you reorganize all of this like data in like Excel? So what I did was I converted it to CSV and wrote a Vim macro to fix all of it, because I don't know how to use macros or Power Automate in Excel. Yes, I know there's a way to do it in Excel, but the way I did it was cleaner, and it's not like we were formatting data anyway. But when you make changes to Silverblue, they just get erased every time you update. Especially if you're only doing it in the etc folder or whatnot. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because when you go to their documentation, you would think they would advertise this feature, right? Well, in some ways, it is a feature. When you looked at like this, all of this stuff here, they tell you that, for example, you're not allowed that the root file system is immutable, and that's what they tell you. Of course, that's what they tell you, right? But that doesn't mean anything to normal people. It's literally useless. If you just read this text, or like, Fedora Silverblue's immutable design is intended to make it more stable, less prone to bugs, and easier to test and develop. How? They don't tell you. Finally, you have to read the rest of the documentation to figure out how. They don't even tell you in the homepage. Oh, it's so bad. Finally, Fedora Silverblue's immutable design makes it an excellent platform, containerized applications, and container-based development. How? Did you mention something about Toolbox and Podman? Nope, nothing. Nothing. They don't even tell you. In each case, applications and containers are from the host system, improving stability and reliability. But you go through this entire thing, and you'll notice there's one thing missing. How do you edit your root file system? The answer is you can, but you can't. And they don't tell you this. Nowhere in the documentation do they tell you this. I literally had to make an experiment basically doing this myself, and that is bad. If I have to go and test it out myself on a thing, that means your documentation is bad. But their documentation isn't all bad. Like, everything I just read out to you, like when they talk about things like OS installation, installing apps and software, OS upgrades and rollbacks, I thought this was pretty well explained. This is actually really good. This is really good. This stuff's really good. That's probably why they put it front and foremost, like in the documentation. But it's when you start asking questions, the questions start getting a little more messed up. The questions are like, can I update my root file system? I think that would be a common question, especially for the aspiring sysadmins in the world, or the people who want to make massive changes to like System D, for example. How do you do that? I think that would be a frequently asked question. Heck, it's probably a frequently asked question if you do it on Reddit, assuming they aren't having the blackout in a few days, and look it up on YouTube. A common question is, how do you update the root file system? You can't. Okay, it's not that you can't. You can. The problem is that tool isn't available to normal people and is nowhere near accessible to normal people. When you look up things like if you want to say like, I've gotten a million questions about this, I know it's popular among the kids, it's ublue, universalblue.it, the thing, the ublue. Look, it's George Castro. Yes, ublue. They say, look, we can build all of these images. Great. Can I build my own? No, you have to add them to the list, and they don't tell you how to do it at all. Guys, please. This would be so message retracted. What did you say? Wait, no, did you delete that? I thought it was YouTube just banning people. I hope not. God, I hope not. Did you know YouTube bans people commenting on my videos and they don't even let me do anything about it? It's like, YouTube, I saw those comments before you deleted it. They were fine. Why'd you delete them? YouTube thinks everyone's a robot. I swear. Alright, whatever. With ublue, they say you can make your own images, but they barely tell you how to do it. They just expect that you're gonna know how to do this. This is the problem with a lot of these things. It's like, look, I know you can do it. That's why people are building all of these like spins or whatever. You can do it. I know you can do it. I've seen it happen. You can do it. But does it exactly work that way? No, it doesn't. I feel you when proper docs are missing. Well, it's not that they're missing per se, because this doubles over as a problem of this sort of tooling isn't accessible to people. And this is what the developers are talking about. They want this tooling to be more available for people. But when you look at the documentation, it's not there. And it's like, and this is a problem. And the reason why I say this is because this is a great idea. I love the idea of Fedora Silverblue. I would love this to be my daily system, so I don't have something like me breaking Network Manager happen again. I would love something like Fedora Silverblue to exist, especially after everything I dealt with in the last week and a half. But if I can't make critical changes, especially changes that I have done to this system right now, which I consider basic things to secure your system, which are not done by default in Fedora Silverblue. So for example, let me hop back into a terminal here. Let me go to the etc folder. And if you go to, actually, let me just do a less, and I'm going to do etc crony.conf. Now this demonstrates one of the first things that I consider wrong about Fedora. This is not a Silverblue problem, this is a Fedora problem. Some of the defaults that you will find in Fedora are not good. And that doesn't mean your system won't work. It doesn't mean you're not going to have a problem. It just means that it's not optimal or secure for normal people. And if you change it for normal people, the odds are no one, and I mean no one, is going to notice. Let me give you an example. Crony-D. Yes, the thing that lets you set cron jobs on your computer. It's the Fedora problem. No, it's a problem with distros in general. That there are some things that need to be changed by default and just are not changed. This is everyone's problem. This is a problem with Windows because you need to enable a bunch of things in Windows Defender that are enabled by default. It's a problem with Apple, like shoveling in all their stupid garbage and turning off Siri and then phoning home every other day. It's like, look, this is a problem, all right? You might consider this a weird one, but it's this. NTP. Wait, that's a problem? NTP? That's right, guys, because the NIST has decided, and the world's web people have decided that with NTP, there is no authentication at all. Yes, there is no authentication between the server, which means there could be problems where someone messes with your time on your computer or intercepts this call to get you. Now, this is what I mean by this is a minor problem that most people wouldn't notice, because the odds of someone attacking you through or all of Fedora's users through an NTP server is very, very, very small, because of how widely used Red Hat and Fedora are. The odds of Fedora being attacked, Fedora's NTP server getting actually broken into, are very low, because it's very easy to just lock a server off in the rest of the world while still being an NTP server. That is fine. But the issue is NTP is not secure. What is the answer, you might say? We can't use NTP? What do we use instead? Instead of using NTP, what you do is you use this thing, which you can actually manage through Crony-D. It's called NTS. NTS is basically secure. The best way to look about this is the S in NTP stands for secure. Oh, it doesn't have one? It means it's not secure then. So you gotta use NTS. And this NTS configuration file, you'll see this actually pulls from various servers. The number one is Cloudflare and a bunch of other NTS servers. But so that way you have multiple sources for time, but it actually NTS is verification behind it. Where did this configuration file come from? Where did you get it? The answer is everyone's favorite operating system who lost a really toxic developer, Graphene OS. Yes, that is right. When you go to Graphene OS's architecture's GitHub page, you can get a Crony-D configuration file telling you how to use NTS on one of their servers. Just use this. You will not notice anything. It has zero impact on your host system. Just do it. Just do it. There's no way they're gonna change. There's no way this is going to be outdated unless one of these servers dies, which is highly unlikely. You will be fine, no one will notice anything, and you can't do this if you use Fedora Silverblue because everything in the /etc folder is going to be reset every time you upgrade. The only way to actually implement this is if you make an if you build, and I don't know how this works exactly because I haven't done it to this level. I'm sorry. The toilet sounds. I'll just mute the virtual machine just for you. Boom, muted. What you do is when you look at Fedora Silverblue, one thing that you should be aware of is it makes the assumption that default Fedora is okay, and it's not. And this is my problem. We just need... Look, I would love to use Fedora Silverblue, but I can't. I'm sorry. I know this is a really roundabout way of saying you can. If I can't configure like what I consider like really basic critical things which have zero impact on like the user but only boosts user security, then that's when I say, why should I bother? I'll wait. I'll keep waiting. I'll wait the day I can finally switch to Fedora Silverblue. Because here's another one. Let's say you want to add systemd overrides, right? You can actually have some nice good old systemd overrides. Let me show you some of them right here. If you want to do, oh, I can't. Well, fine. We'll just do a sudo less. Oh, I can't do this on camera, can't I? It's gonna show my password. I can't do that. And there's going to be people listening to what I type, so I can't actually show it. Okay. We're just gonna do a sudo less etc sysctl .t. I'm doing this so you can't even, there's no chance of nothing. Alright, ready. So now, when you go into here, this is one of a sysctl config. Hey, this address looks really familiar. That's right, guys. It's from Unix. Unix actually makes special kernel hardening for systemd and implements it through systemd. Oh, it's so good. And there's no... if you go read some of Unix's documentation, some of them do hit your performance on things like video games. But when you use this one, for example, which disables a lot of kernel functionality and stuff in systemd, this is actually really good, and you will not experience anything as just your Joe Schmo Linux user. It's great. Problem, it's in the sysctl folder, which gets overwritten when you update anything in Fedora Silverblue. Now you know what I've been doing in hiding. This is what I've been trying to do for extra week, trying to implement all of this because this is how it's done. Oh, by the way, I do have a Fedora account. I think as a virtue of having a Fedora account does give me access to Bugzilla. Is that true? I think Fedora account gives you access to Bugzilla. Well, let's see. So we also have, what else can we do? Oh yeah, Distrobox. It got deleted of my previous install when I was testing out everything. Let's do Distrobox. I'll try to report it, but the problem is reporting some of these things. People can be very opinionated about documentation. What do you think about OpenRC? It's fine. But I understand if you can't use it. It's very difficult to use systemd today's day and age. Like systemd, don't get me wrong, like the idea behind systemd is a great one. But the problem is just in terms of the way it's actually implemented of systemd, it just doesn't work. Well, it does work, but like it's not. It needs to be done in such a way where it can be more modular than it even is. And the problem with systemd is it's just too monolithic. Whereas if if systemd could be even more modular than it is, it would be a lot better, because a lot of flaws are found in systemd. So just be cognizant of that. It's a problem. But that doesn't mean it's bad. Like, I understand it. Like, a lot of distros use it by default. Like, heck, my number 3 recommended distros, Arch, Fedora, and OpenSUSE, all use systemd. Just do it. It's like, you have to do it if you're going to be using those. And it doesn't mean if you use a distro, it doesn't that they're bad just because they aren't. It's just, does your distro have the capability or the scrutiny on them to, like, actually, like, be good? And that's the real problem. Because, like, people saying to me, I use, like, Garuda, or, like, I use Ardix, and it's like, there's no way these distros get enough attention, if we're being honest to ourselves. And if you hear what I have to say in another video about Garuda, man, my opinion was even more ruined of them when I learned more about them. At least Rel uses systemd, so it gets a lot of... That's the point, right? Even though systemd is problematic in that it's way too monolithic, it still gets enough attention to it that it can get fixed. As opposed... Now, it doesn't mean OpenRC doesn't, because, like, OpenRC is the default of Gen 2, right? And people use Gen 2. And it's also in Alpine Linux, so, like, it's clear... Which is used in containers, so, like, people clearly pay attention to it because it's important. So it's not that it's not getting attention, it's just make sure whatever you are using is getting attention. Like, doesn't, like, init, sysv init or whatever, doesn't that even get it? I don't know. That was way before my time. All the bootloader wars and systemd and whatever happened way before my time. Basically, just stay within, like, the default where you can and where it can be fixed. You'll probably be fine. Like, this... I mean, like, with most of these things, it's like, most of this junk that I show you how to do, like, going through, like, the Hune... Like, some of this is from, like, DivestOS stuff. And it's like, that's real... Like, DivestOS Fedora fork. And, well, not their fork, but, like, they have a bunch of configuration files and junk for Fedora. It's kind of getting into the weeds, but some of it is, like, just basic things that you need to do because just do it. Just do it. But there's also stuff that it's like, it's diminishing returns because it gets to a point where you can try as hard as you can, but then your system is just unusable. It's all about being practical. That's the whole issue. Do gross emojis. Alright. Distrobox time. It's enough of that. I'm just gonna pop this over to a different monitor. It's a little weird because I have to use the stock GNOME key bindings. I'm surprised I still know them. For those who don't know, it's because I don't have WShow keys. I think WShow keys was, like, discontinued like a year ago, so, like, it doesn't even work anymore. So we do Windows key, up and down arrow key that lets you switch desktops like this. But if you do Windows key up, down, shift up, down, it lets you move windows, like, across workspaces. I usually bind it to something else because, if we're being honest, like, shift page up is really unintuitive. And if you have a computer which doesn't have the page up, page down keys, I consider that a little biased, just like how I consider it ridiculous when Blender requires that you have a number pad. Because, like, what if they're using a Mac? What if they're like me and don't have a keyboard with a number pad? Good luck. Number pad emulation, and it's not as good. So, Distrobox. Now, every time I do this, okay, I don't mean every time I do this, but every time I look up Distrobox, I always have to, like, go and just figure out. Did you use Blender to design your model? I use it to fix some minor problems. By minor problems, I mean I literally deleted, like, my legs. Because you're not supposed to have legs. Legs are blown. No one sees my legs. Some people were shocked that I even had legs to begin with. Yes, I used to have legs. I don't have legs anymore. In a weird way, everyone making fun of like Zuckerberg and Microsoft for not having like legs. In a way, they do it because it saves memory. Because most people don't see your avatar like below the waist anyway. If you know what I mean. Because that's not the kind of thing you want in a business setting. Like, it's just not necessary. So the point is, just you don't need like legs. I think I got comments muted. I was trying to post a link related to a custom RPM and installing rpm-ostree in Fedora Silverblue. Ooh, custom RPM. Oh, custom RPM. Oh wait, yeah, that's what I just said. So yeah, you can build your own RPM package, which I do know how to do. I've done it before. Like anyone who knows like the suckless applications back in the day, this is way back when, the suckless applications, you can actually package them as Debian RPM packages, as long as, because you know because they're written in C, they'll work pretty much anywhere as long as you've got like glibc and X11, so which is pretty much every desktop Linux computer, and it as a result works on every distro. So you can actually package ST as or like SXIV as RPM or Deb packages. You didn't know how easy that was. And now I'm unmuted. Well, I had to mute you. It's YouTube. I hate you. I mean, I love YouTube. I'm totally not saying this with a finger over the end stream button. Nope. I love YouTube. I didn't want you to get muted. I'm sorry. They just do this. I don't know why they do this. It's like, ugh. All right, Distrobox. Distrobox. It's a little, the README is a little cluttered, but in their defense, the README is actually really good. I believe this is going to kill my internet because it's going to ask me to like, if I go to Distrobox. So if you do Distrobox blank, you can create a new container. But let's say I want to actually do it because I believe the default is like it does like Fedora. Yeah, Fedora 36. Yeah, maybe don't use Fedora 36. Because Fedora 36 is kinda old. I'm pretty sure it's in a month it's gonna be gonzo, I think. Because because you can update between 2 releases. So no. Yeah, so Fedora 36 is probably deadzo. You shouldn't be using, can't be using Fedora 36. I'm pretty sure they should change that. I'm pretty sure it's mentioned if you look it up in the issues. I mean, so many people use this thing. There has to be like an issue about this. Maybe. Add Nvidia integration. This would fix my NVIDIA problems. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's just do Fedora 36. What if I just did a colon like it does in the command? Oh, well. This isn't a Gen 2 video. Josh, stop saying that! Ugh. You want your Gen 2 video so badly. Ugh. Well, I'm sorry. I can't help you. I don't know nothing about Gen 2. Remember when Gen 2 got their repository hacked? Okay, that's a little mean. But like, and I know that happened like a million years ago. That was like 6 years ago. That was like 5 years ago. And it was something really minor and it was caught really quickly. But it's fine. It's fine. I just don't need that kind of control. Imagine if you had to like, it'd be really nice because you get like OpenRC and not having to deal with all this other stuff. Agencies are trying to constantly find more ways to make it bad for their users as possible. Guys, if you use uBlock origin, I'm going to be very, very, very disappointed with you. If you know what I mean. So, Distrobox, Fedora 36, really guys, really, let's not do this. So let's just change this up a bit. So we're gonna do a -n test, add another argument. We're reading the documentation here. I think I'm being fair. Documentation here instructs that you can actually do things. Man, if only you could use Windows, right? You probably can't run Windows in Podman. I know you can run it in Docker, just not in Podman. They say here Ubuntu. Not 2004. That's way too old. Way too old for my liking. That was before they forced the Fire... Wait, was that the release they started doing the Firefox Snap stuff? Whatever. Anyway, just don't do it. It's too old. Do Fedora 30... No, it's Fedora 37. Image Fedora 37 not found. Would you like to pull the image? It's going to look for the short name in Fedora's repo. And there we go. Fedora 37. That was pretty good. I'm actually shocked at how fast that was. But it's probably just more of the text-based applications, right? So we'll do Distrobox, enter, test, right? Yeah. So what this does is then this installs everything. Oh no, how did you know? Wait, what did I know? It says so right here. Look, I'm not against snaps. If you're on Ubuntu, use it. It's a great... Canonical's gonna force you to anyway, so just use snaps if you're on Ubuntu. Like, I don't see a problem with it. Like, you can run command line. The fact you can run cups now, sandboxed. Toolbox versus Distrobox. Toolbox is more for like testing programs. Distrobox gives the container access to your home folder. So like, Toolbox is like completely like cut off from like your system. Whereas Distrobox is more for like people who want to like install like programs. Snaps still feels bad, man. Well, ripperoni, get used to it. Snaps feel bad if you aren't using Ubuntu. If you're using Ubuntu, it's probably great. Heck, like, there are... Oh, that. Man, it's taking a while to install those basic packages, huh? Okay, there we go. I was like, that was taking a little too long. So, alright, so, new user in test, but you'll notice the test user in the container still has access to my host directory. Like, uBlock, don't use uBlock, come on! uBlock is run by a guy who thought that acceptable advertising to hold people hostage would be okay. It's not like a certain other ad block program that has a mathematics symbol at the end does the same thing. No, no, no. Don't use uBlock, guys. I know that was like a million years ago, but like, come on, guys, don't use uBlock. What's his name ran off of the money. Now, if you were to use uBlock with another word behind it, well, you know what I mean. So the point of Distrobox is now you can get a thing. So this is a test Fedora container, and this Fedora container is completely separate from my system. So if I open another window, I can't believe I have to do this because I don't have key binding set up. But if I go to another window, you'll see here, this is bash, right? So if I do a ZSH in the container, I have ZSH right here in my host system. ZSH here? No, doesn't exist. So what do you have to do instead? ZSH doesn't work. Well. ZSH doesn't work, so you have to go and install ZSH. And it's pretty much... Do you even need to do root privileges? You might not have. Maybe you do. Yeah, you need to do root privileges. Install... Let's do fish. This fish isn't in my host system. Yeah, let's just do fish. Oh! Don't even need a password. There you go. And this will go and install fish. And then you can use fish inside of Distrobox, inside of a Fedora 38 container. Boom. Look at that. Now I have fish in the other container. I forget how you test if you're using fish. But if you did, like... Yes. Be careful. Oh, yes. You must research the... Yeah. I'm not telling you to research the origin of uBlock. Be careful. So, yes, this is fish. Like if I do 2 + 2, Wait, no, it's math 2 plus 2. 2 minus 2. Okay, whatever. Yeah, close enough. Look at that. Math 2 minus 2 is 0. Proof fish is working. Go to the host system, type in fish, command not found, because it's in the container. Now, the cool thing about Distrobox is you can install other distributions, because this is just by exit. Do Distrobox list. Oh, still in the container. Haha. Distrobox list. Distrobox list test, right? And you can see it's still running. So if you do Distrobox stop test, yes, this turns off the container. Oh, it's PS. Fair enough. Keep forgetting that these things exist. That you can use PS to get the running process. I'm so bad at this. It's been 9 years and I still don't know how to do anything. Did you know I learned how to do, what's it? Set this thing to see who gets what over like file permissions, for example. I forget, it's like something that set facile-m to get number of users touching which thing. Oh my gosh, you have no idea. I was up late last night, worried that today I wouldn't be able to stream because of that. It was such a problem. It was such a big problem. Oh. So let me just delete this so you can actually... Let me just move this to another desktop so you can actually see what's happening. Oh, wait, what? No, stop. Alright. And Zoom doesn't work because I don't have my configuration file. Okay, we'll just use GNOME terminal. Fine. We'll just use GNOME. Oh, did my mouse battery die? I think my monitor froze. I think everything's frozen. I think GNOME just had a panic attack. Well, I'm wondering if this might be the end. I can't even... Chat's not even updating now. I can see myself still moving. I can't do anything. Well, my computer's locked up. It's frozen. I can see the music is still playing, but I can't do anything. I think this is it. This is an Nvidia problem. Oh, I love computers. I love computers so much. Oh. And my CPU loaded 100% with Blender rendering. Well, good for you. My computer is not doing anything except streaming. So I guess I can just sit here and talk while my computer's frozen. That's all I can do. Trying to do the magic sysrq key and RE, I don't know what that is. I can't even enter in a command right now. I'm like mashing like the function keys and like nothing's happening. My like keyboard is, my system is just locked up. Oh, you know, a weird hack. Oh, it's really small though. That's my capture computer. I could show you how to do stuff through that, but it would be so tiny. I can't even like resize stuff in OBS. Control Alt F3 to see if it's just a going. No, this is an Nvidia problem. It is like quite literally just like a full-on like lockup. Like you can't do anything. Like once you're hit with this, the only way to do it is reboot your computer. And this is what I mean by, if I was actually better about this, I would have a real capture card with a second computer, probably running not Nvidia, so I don't have to deal with any of this. Oh. But NVINC though, it's so nice. I mean, like, yeah, my system is just locked up now. I didn't even do anything. I didn't even do anything. This is why unplug the video card. Oh, thank you. Why didn't I think of that? I have a better idea. Why don't I just hit the reset button? Oh wait, because that would end stream. Oh, it's so bad. Want to go over content plans? Love the AMD. Yes, but it doesn't do NVENC or CUDA, and I need that. I love NVENC and CUDA. It's so nice. When you get DaVinci Resolve with CUDA and whatnot, it's so nice. Did you know DaVinci Resolve performs... I had to edit. I'm editing the current thing in Windows. Did you know it's actually worse? Wait, hear me out, okay? DaVinci Resolve on Windows is somehow worse than it is on Linux. Okay, in a weird way. In a weird way, it kind of is, because I had to update stuff. Did you know I still have banked like a Windows 10 system? Just in case. For like extreme emergencies, like when I'm not able to like access my computer. And I opened it up for the first time in a million years, have to update everything, crack open DaVinci, install DaVinci Resolve, which I had to save the installer for because, you know, filling out the information on Blackmagic website is not exactly the easiest thing in the world, and they might lose your license key or whatever. So I opened my file cabinet with the key, and then what you do is you basically just save an installer that's licensed with your information or whatnot, so you can get it back. But I start running it on Windows, and man, it's bad. Like the playback just stutters like every other minute, and I have no idea why. And it's like I'm running the most updated Nvidia drivers on Windows, the most updated Nvidia and Intel and whatnot on Windows. I used WinGet and Chocolate to fix everything. You know, it's working just fine. No, Windows. Anyone have an issue installing Flatpaks with XDG portals? Is making programs take an insanely long time to start? I don't know. What distro are you using? Because if it's Debian, it's because it's old. You can put 2 GPUs in a system. Like you can use a cheap Nvidia card. Which I was tempted to do at one point, but I chose not to. Using AMD for desktop to play games. Yes. DaVinci Resolve does let you choose between cards, because it does detect which GPU if you have multiple. It does on Windows at least. Definitely does on Linux. Should. Blender's actually be okay for video editing. It was meant for... Oh, it's meant for 3D graphics. I've edited in Blender before. Sure took a long time to render, but it took like half an hour to render like a 52-minute video. But yeah, it's still pretty good. That's for CPU encoding. Like, imagine how much better it would be with the if the Flatpak had the integrated. This is like years ago. It was like 2 years ago. If the Flatpak had like the integrated Nvidia stuff. I don't know if it does now. I'd have to look because I haven't opened Blender's video editing stuff in a long time. Hey, Blender's really great if you need to make like a rough cut of something, and it's like, if you're a Mac user especially, you don't want to use iMovie, it's an option. Apparently Blender only uses one core. Oh, okay. That explains a lot, doesn't it? I'm surprised how much abuse my computer goes through all the time. My computer's been abused so much this week. To fix your screen, could you open another? No, the settings menu is locked up and I can't even like click on YouTube chat right now. So like the only reasonable way for me to end stream is for me to reset my computer. And then I have to click the end stream button when I open up Brave again to shut everything down. Yeah, there's no... Yeah, this is an Nvidia thing. Because it's funny, because you can still see me. You can still see me talking to you. And you can still see my frozen monitor. But you can't, like... I can't touch anything, because... Like, it just won't let me touch anything. It's like... I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm, like, mashing the buttons, which let me, like, control alt... I'm trying to get a TTY, but you can't. I'm trying to do control alt F2 for, like, GNOME's Run Launcher. Nothing. Nothing. Can't do it. Ain't working. And because I don't have global hotkeys, I can't change like OBS's thing. I never did use global hotkeys on OBS anyway. I know that really peeves some people, Brody, but it doesn't bother me because most of the time I just edit around my like transitions. I feel like the right thing to do is, can you SSH in? Fantastic idea. Never tried. I'm sure there's a way. But there's a really convoluted thing in my network right now, so my home network, so like it's like it would have to be plugged. Because of the way SSH is a great idea. I'm amazing your system hasn't crashed. No, it's just Nvidia. It is literally just Nvidia. If it wasn't for Nvidia, like it just locks up my monitors, so I can't like touch anything. So like I can click on something and like the music won't. Yeah, there's nothing's happening because my mouse is hovering over my music right now and I'm attempting to raise the volume in MPV, not going up. Someone's like, no, well, probably would be good if I did that anyway, but whatever. Basically, the point is I'm just in this blind. I'm just gonna have to reset. I mean, we're at the 2-hour mark anyway. Could end right now. See, it was fun. Nice knowing you guys. I might have to go reboot and continue to load backups. I might try to come back. Would it be okay if I left and just, like, attempted to reopen everything again? Because it's not too much of an issue, because all I have to do is open OBS and then we're back in business. I would have to restart. Open OBS, and then we're back in business. This is just Nvidia. This is what you deal with Nvidia. This is the stuff you don't see. Like, this happens, like... This used to be more rampant on, like, GNOME 43, but, like, and on, like, KDE 5.26. The old 5.26, not, like, 5.26.5 or whatever it's on right now. In fact, I'm pretty sure KDE doesn't have this problem at all. The only reason I used GNOME was because I had to set up something quick. And it's what I have. You have a Magic SysRQ. Control Alt F. What's Control Alt F? What's Magic SysRQ? No, sorry. I'm one of the poor souls who has to deal with Nvidia. I still find it a miracle that I can see my other monitor. I just can't click on anything. Like, none of my inputs are going through. And, like, I can't open, like, super blah, blah, blah. For my tasks, I prefer to get an AMD GPU. But that costs money. And now is not the time to be buying hardware. Have you seen the prices? Sure, I went to a Best Buy and saw a 4090 or 4060 Ti, but I ain't gonna be buying that. I did it with my current one. Does YouTube have stream guard? So if the PC dies, it doesn't end stream. Well, in order for me to end stream, I have to press the button. Oh, like print screen? They changed the button in GNOME. Yeah, it's not working. My keyboard inputs are not going through. Hang on, let me get another keyboard. I wonder if that works. I'm stealing my capture card. My capture cards. Whoops. Plugged the wrong drive. Whatever. Whatever, it's fine. Let's try this keyboard. Yeah, nothing. It's rejecting stuff from my capture card keyboard. So, nope. Prices go oop. Yup. I ain't buying a 4090 or a 4060 right now. That's just... I mean, I would have, but like, because like I usually get the TI cards, because it usually means that they slash the prices because they're just recycling pieces from their other graphics cards. Which I don't know why people are all like surprised Pikachu face when that thing comes out and they're really disappointed when you compare it to the other ones. But like, guys, Nvidia has a monopoly. Just needs, but the only problem is Nvidia, while they don't have a lot of focus and they support like a lot of like, I heard from someone I know who used to work for Nvidia, he said like they don't have a lot of focus. That's what he said. It's like they're very conservative, if that makes sense. They're very conservative as a company, yet they like get their people to research a ton into like all of these crazy things that you've never seen in your life. Like, I didn't show everybody, but the talk of Jensen Huang from this year was so bad. It was literally just like, look at all of the industries we're in. And I could only just sit there for the hour and a half and just nod my head and just say, yup, sure. Yup. I'm sure you're doing great in the self-driving car industry. Nvidia, sure. I'm sure you do great in the fab space. Sorry, I had to sneeze. Oh my gosh. Nvidia's making me sick. Makes me sick thinking about them. The fact that Nvidia GUI on Windows still looks like it's from XP tells you a bit. Yep, that's Nvidia. Actually, it's gotten a lot better. Where do I find your hardware specs? I'll just tell you right now. I'm sorry it's not listed anywhere. It's listed on the beta version's website, which no one can see. My hardware specs are: I have a 1080 Ti and an i7 7700, and I think the Nightbot. Why are you deleting comments? Oh, whatever. I can't stop Nightbot now. Let's see. The thing is with what was I even talking about? Hardware specs. Yes, I have a 1080 Ti, Intel i7 7700. I forget what generation, but I bought it in 2016, so that should tell you something. I don't know. Look, I don't know lakes in the United States. How am I supposed to know what lake it was? I think it was like, it's not Ivy Lake. That was too old. Whatever it was, it's called. Gosh, what's the other one? And then I also have 32 gigabytes of RAM, DDR4 RAM, because video editing. I was not particular about it. I think one of them, my RAM's really uneven. Like 8 gigabytes, 4 gigabytes is like I ripped from an old computer. Then another 4 gigabytes is like, I think Corsair memory sticks or something. And then like the other 2 are MSI. So it's not consistent at all. Like my RAM is not consistent at all. And I still use stock cooling, and that's probably what frustrates people the most. Yeah, I still use stock cooling. That's why you can hear my fans in the background sometimes. I think it's what shocks people the most. They're like, you use stock cooling? Yeah, I use stock cooling. And then I have like a Samsung SSD, which is the first SSD I bought, and it still is the best. Skylake, maybe? I don't know. Did you say 4? I had 64? No, I do not. My computer does not have enough memory. I have 64 gigabytes of storage on another laptop. It is not 64 gigabytes of memory. I have 32 because it is technically the minimum for DaVinci Resolve is 16, but having 32 helps a lot because it does a lot better. It makes better use of like its caching, both on Windows and in Linux. Definitely seems to work better on Linux if I'm being honest. Sup boys? Yeah, you welcome to me being locked out of my computer. I'm debating on whether or not I should just hit the reset button and just start over. Because I need to hit my reboot button and then I can get moving again. 7th gen is KB Lake. Oh, so maybe it is KB. I think it is KB Lake then. KB Lake or Ivy Sky Lake. One of the two. Yeah, I need to... Basically, my computer is old. It's like 8 years old. It's nearing on the 9th year next year. And this was before the Bitcoin boom. And that means I was so lucky. I got so lucky. And I'm glad I did research before. Oh, my motherboard? Don't do this. It's an Asus motherboard. You hear all sorts of nightmares now about like Asus shorting their motherboards. It's not the only problem with Asus, but their motherboards are also like, they never update them, which is like bad. And it's like, I'm never getting Asus ever again. Don't do it. I think if American Megatrends is the one I would look for. American Megatrends, you know, maybe like Dell. Because I can't say as many negative things about them than I can with Asus. Asus is just bad. Plus there's like, there used to be years ago, like all sorts of really niche issues with Asus, especially on their laptops, on how like keyboards would interact through like lib input, and it's like so bad. Like I remember one time I couldn't even operate the keyboard on a laptop because lib input broke. I hate my Asus laptop. Well, see, I know I'm not the only one. Also, like Asus's I/O on their devices is really, really off. My motherboard has a serial port. That should tell you something about what Asus thinks people use in today's day and age. My laptop gets pretty hot with an RTX 2060. Ooh, interesting. Well, with a 2060, you're still getting better performance than me. I wouldn't complain about a 2060. That's first world problems right there. I mean, literally my thing is first world problems, but at least my thing actually works. All right. I can't put up a poll. I could if I could touch my thing, but like, should I reboot my computer? Reboot my computer and attempt to come back, because I can go for longer. Last time I had a family dinner like afterwards. This time I do not. So I can reboot my computer and attempt to keep going. In an attempt to keep going. So I could reboot my computer. For people who want to take off, you can take off. And I will attempt to come back. I think it will still use the same stream if I crack open OBS again. Because I would just like to fix my computer. You don't want to look at me in this tiny little box, do you? Like, it's probably really depressing. I would rather just take the opportunity now, because 2.5 mark. We'll try to treat this as an intermission. If I was being smart about this, it doesn't end stream. Well, stream doesn't end until I go to the YouTube and hit the button, which is the... Or else they're just going to perpetually load stream, and it's going to be like a black screen. So it's a little... YouTube... Unless you link your account. And even when I linked my account, it was really weird. And like, usually I never bothered linking my account, because I've always found it easier to just handle stream keys. Constant. I mean, I'm always at like 60 or 70, and I have stock cooling, but that's 2060, so I don't know. My power supply is good. I think it's forget what who made it. I have to look. I have to read the manuals. I have them. I still keep the manuals. I also have a bunch of old computers, like a bunch of old Asus computers I inherited from a church yard sale. Okay, I didn't inherit them. I bought them from a church yard sale. And then like because there was a church that was giving away like old computers, and I just took a bunch of them. I have like 4 of them. Funny enough, one of them is a duplicate computer that I already own. It was the Asus ProBook. My poor old Asus, oh, not Asus, HP. I have a poor old HP ProBook. But this one has a burnt out motherboard, which is why they got rid of it. But I did rip the storage from it, and it's what I use to store some of my stuff, my videos on right now. They should have wiped their store, but they're church people. They don't know how to use computers. Like, they probably put that in Jesus's hands. Oh, I'm sorry. That could be really offensive. I'm sorry. And I have another mouse pad. I just never did use it. I should actually take that mouse pad to work. It's actually a problem when like I'm in the office and I don't have a mouse pad. So, yeah. And then I have like a bunch of old laptops. Basically just a bunch of old laptops. I have a G3 iMac. Like before Apple made PowerPC iMac floating around somewhere. And the monitors I used, that computer was scrapped though. Like the cooling was broken and a bunch of other stuff. All their laptops come pre-installed with downloads. Oh my gosh. Alright, you know what? That resolves it. I am going to attempt to restart stream. I think this is what I'm gonna do. I will restart my computer, and I will see you guys when I come back. Bye bye. I hope to see you. Are we back? Are we back? Is it working? Maybe it was right to restart this from the get-go. Yeah, that was fast. I'm so shocked too. Whoa. Booting. What a modern revolution. And people say System D is so slow to boot. They're lying to you. Okay, well maybe not, but like, you know what I mean. Have you guys seen Windows boot up? Have you ever seen Macs? Actually, Macs have gotten a lot better. When Macs were running Intel, it was still really bad. Macs running Intel, man, that was like, I mean, it was still better than Windows, but like, it was still not great. Right. And I also have to remember that like chat is delayed, so like I need to like, because see, I told you it wouldn't mess up, because you have to click a button in YouTube, which is YouTube just thinks they're so special, because like unlike, because when I used to stream on Twitch, you have to like press a button. Like on Twitch, you just press the stop streaming button and you stop streaming. YouTube thinks they're so privileged that you not only do you have to press a button in OBS, you have to go into the menu and press a button on like the thing. And it's like, oh, gross. Oh, and chat. Okay, there we go. Chat is still working. I just have to check. I don't know why they do like the weird like emote, but I'm back. What did I miss? You missed me. Reboot my computer. Well, that is what you missed. I don't have a whole lot to mention. I could just go over let me open desktop. Oh, this is, let's not look at that. That's a little bit of streamception right there. Let's go do something else. I don't know what I will do. I would do exactly. I could try to. Oh yeah, did you know Distrobox creates icons? It's pretty funny. It's kind of the same way like when you use like fish or whatever. Fun fact: if you play at 2x speed, you can get rid of the 30-second buffer that YouTube uses for some reason. Oh, well, don't play me at 2x speed. That just sounds awful. Well, I know it sounds awful because that's what I do when I edit videos. So like, it's like, oh my gosh. All right. Do you want to talk about the news? What do people do? Do people just talk about the news? You took 2 hours to read. No, it was not 2 hours. Was 2 hours and 15 minutes. It was 2 hours and 10 minutes, but sure. Sure. I'll have to edit this together. I can quickly just scrap things. Yes, mostly news. Is that what people do these days? They just look at the news? I can't show you my RSS feeds. They're too personal. Let me go over here and I'll just I'll crack open. I don't have Newsboat. That's right. Well, I do, but I don't have my URL list. My URL list isn't in Newsboat, isn't in here yet. My laptop boots pretty fast compared to Windows. Windows is literally just the worst. Anyone who's used Windows before, you should know it is like the worst. Windows is the worst thing like known to man. It's like, not gonna lie, I think only one of you, I might be the only one of you, but I use Windows 10 even as a pen tester. I've used Arch Pen 2. Have you tried Black Arch? I know Black Arch is the popular one. And then I know people get upset at like Kali because it doesn't include all of the tools people want, but what's Deb? Oh, Debian, maybe? I like the plug and play. So I use it to code and develop, but not in NeoVim. Is YouTube still letting me not letting me comment? Do you want me to? How do you toggle moderation activity? Moderation activity will be shown. It'll show me, but it won't show you guys. Community moderation settings. Oh, well, you want me to tell you, whatever you do, don't paste a URL. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, YouTube chat. Yep, YouTube gets a... Did you know I've noticed people were pasting in YouTube links? So, but if they paste the YouTube link from me, it's fine. But if they paste a YouTube link from another creator, banned. It's like, wow, that's a little extreme. My laptop boots so fast, maybe because I don't literally have much. That's just my login prompt. Then I just run SX and start DWM. Remind me, I think SX is start X, right? You mean start X? Or is it just one of those things? DWM, gross. It doesn't even support Wayland. Ew. Also, you have to build it from source? Ew, gross. I did put a Wikipedia link. Did they ban you? I think they did, because they didn't... If you posted one, I didn't see it, which means they probably did ban it. So yeah, Wikipedia is not allowed either. Wow, okay. Well, yeah, basically, if YouTube sees, like, HTTPS, they're, like, banned. Come on, YouTube. Please. No. Ugh. You want me to tell you something funny? No, I shouldn't say it. It's also rip anyone who mentions .zip or MOV files. That sucks because I render everything in MOV files because that's how the only way you can render stuff on DaVinci Resolve on Linux. SX is a smaller script for starting Xorg, kind of like start X, but not start X. Figured. I assumed with X in the name, it was something related to X11. I'm surprised they don't do what wouldn't the most minimal thing to just write a thing into your bash RC where like if you're in TTY prompt 1, it does a thing. That'll be the easier. Magic sysrq. Keep seeing multiple people mention that. So yeah, let's give it a shot, shall we? Let's look up on Wikipedia for Magic sysrq. Here, I'll show this. Magic sysrq. Magic, according to Brave Summarizer, Magic sysrq is a key sequence that allows users to perform low-level commands directly to the Linux kernel regardless of system state. That allows computer to recover from freezes or to reboot without corrupting the file system. Oh. But wait, does this mean it would affect like GDM? That has a lot of questions. GDM is really flaky. Still better than SDDM, but GDM is still really flaky where like if GDM crashes, it brings your whole GNOME down with it. Alt sysrq. Wait, what's sysrq? Like print screen? Because alt print screen like does that. Like it captures like my desktop. Like this, right? A window capture. It's a print screen usually. But it says here, but wait, that's a problem because that conflicts with GNOME and KDE's default bindings because they bind alt plus sysrq. It's a little weird, don't you think? Oh, interesting. There's like a full, forcibly thought, kill all processes. Oh. Oh. Understood by, how do you get this? This sounds great. How do you get this? Kernel.org. Here we go. Oh, right. I forgot. It's kernel.org. How old are you? It's not a secret. I am an old man of the ripe age of 57. No, I'm Gen Y. I am a millennial. I'm pretty firmly millennial. And it's bad because I work with a bunch of boomers. And at work, there was discussion about how can we get like more of like, mixture of like company culture, but also like reaching newer audiences. They're like, how can we get like younger people? I know it sounds awful, but how do we get younger people? And then what happens is someone who's a little older than me, by the way, brings up the discuss. No, who's a lot older than me, by the way. They're like in their like late 50s. Brings up this thing like, well, we could try to do things. We could like we need to have like someone who's like nice and young but also has experience, so we're gonna do I'm gonna say his name is Tom, right? We're gonna have Tom do it, and then it's not his name, but they just gonna have Tom do it, and they're like, but Tom is like is like 48, and then one of the people she's like my age, and she's like guys, millennials are not young anymore. And it's like, this should not be news to like, this is a problem. It's like, this is what you tell the boomers. And it's like, millennials are not young anymore. We have kids now. Yep. Nope. Nope. Not allowed. It's like, and then it's like, oh, all of a sudden, boomers all of a sudden now view us with the ones of experience because they need people to replace them. And then it's like, then don't even mention like Gen Z to them. They're going to lose their minds. Well, Gen Z, they're like, Gen Z, they're just children. Get them out of here. Oh, I know that sounds terrible. I am almost not, maybe guys, okay, stop it. Maybe don't say your precise age online, please. Just don't. This is why I never say my precise age. Like, don't. I am around. Look, I can tell you that I am around 40, but don't ever say you're like exactly what number of age you are like online. It's just bad practice. Like, there's like databases of like evil people online who like what they do is they go and like document people's like birthdays, their social security numbers, if you're Canadian, your social insurance number, maybe like your like driver's license or whatnot, your passports from like stuff, and it's like oh, I can't. Like, this is why you should never mention your birthday online. Then someone is just going, your social security number is, oh, I can tell you my social insurance. No, this sounds awful. I know some social insurance numbers in Canada and Mexico, which will always register as valid. So if you provide them to a service which does a credit check on you, if you provide them that social insurance number, they'll just do it. And then it just always registers as valid. And then they'll just let you do your thing. Now, don't go willy-nilly doing this on like every single like company you know or whatever, but I know for a fact it works on like your internet service provider, for example. So, for example, with an internet service provider, let's say, I don't know, let's say you have Spectrum or like Comcast, right? Funnily enough, it works better on Comcast because I used to use Comcast back in the day. You'd be shocked because you think, despite Comcast having the worst like service, the worst service, like despite Comcast having the worst service, you could like you could like easily get this out of them because they just want to make the sale. So if you say, I'm setting up this utility for a, so what you say to them over the phone is you say, I'm setting up this utility for someone who, for one of my clients who's going to be living in the house. Yeah, it just so happens my client's me. And then they say, okay. And then you say to them, my client might not be a U.S. citizen. Now you have to see the wording very carefully because if they record, because they record the call. So like you say, oh, I'm setting this up for someone and my client might not be a U.S. citizen. I said might not be. It doesn't mean I am not a U.S. citizen. And that's what really throws the thing off even more. So then they say, but they have a social insurance number on file. And I say, yeah, because I have a social insurance number written in a TXT file on my computer. And then they say, okay, let me get you your social insurance. Let's have their social insurance number. And I say, great, it's this. And then they just let do it. And it's like, all right, I need to shut up because this could probably get me banned. It's not illegal. Because there are people in the upper echelon of Hollywood who do these things. And if you do the research into all of this, the people in the upper echelon of Hollywood have to do all this ridiculous stuff, prevent people from finding out where they live. Funny story about this, you probably won't find this in the Steve Jobs autobiography. Have you ever wondered how Steve Jobs got his how Steve Jobs booked hotels? And he's a really famous face. 20 years ago, Steve Jobs was 10 years ago. At least 10 years ago now. Steve Jobs was the hottest thing. He was on the market because of he brought Apple back onto the map and made Apple as big as they are today. But what he did was when he stayed in hotels and when he booked appointments at places like recording studios, he said his name was Steve Eason. And the name actually comes from the origin of Steve Eason is a real guy. But Steve Eason is the name of the doctor who was helping treat him for his cancer. Because Steve Jobs' cancer was known about for years, but he didn't take action until it started to get really, really serious by the end of his life, 2005 or whatever. It was before the iPad launch, but it was after the resurgence of Apple as a company. So when he traveled around, he used the name Steve Eason, and it's because the doctor that he did his surgeries gave him permission to use his name. And that's the name that Steve Jobs used when he traveled around places. So when he traveled around and stayed in hotels, and then when he went to recordings, the only reason we know about this is because a guy who now works for Apple works at a recording studio who was subjected to meeting Steve Jobs, and he didn't recognize him because he doesn't know about Apple. He didn't know anything about Apple at the time. But he worked at a recording studio, and he ended up getting hired by Apple to be one of their iTunes managers. When iTunes used to be really big. And he told everyone in the world after Steve Jobs passed away, he used the name Steve Eason when he was alive. I'm such a nerd. This is why you read history books on all of the The big tech companies. It's very enlightening to understand like how we got here. Do you have any guns in your home? Stop it. Stop it. Next, you're going to ask me, do you think gun rights are the same thing as free software rights? Get out of here. You're banned. Oh my gosh. Don't say that. Stop it. Ugh. Alright. I don't know. It's kind of aimless right now. Don't know what I need to be doing. I could try to do work. While you guys are here, I could try to do work. Hey, you know what I could do? Give me a moment, because this is gonna... I have to actually log in. Because restoring my computer, I have to re-log into a lot of stuff. Like, I have cookies and whatnot. And they kicked me out of, like, every site that I'm currently logged into. So, I'm gonna try to actually do some work. I can try to show progress, improve that money is going somewhere, because yes, it is going somewhere. I mean, right now it's still recouping debt, but like it's still going somewhere. And I want to prove that I'm not like sitting on it doing nothing, because I know that's it's a problem. You don't want to be like I don't know, like the next Joel Osteen and like hoard people's money and buy Lamborghinis, because yeah, I'm totally gonna be buying like Lamborghinis with my pitiful YouTube money. Sure, YouTube doesn't pay me, barely pays me anything, but whatever. Well, give me a moment, because I have to open... Oh my gosh, I didn't save my history, so I have to do, like, thing. This is cut content. Almost did a program on it a year ago. The program is called Tomb. I've been trying to look for, like, a better thing to Veracrypt. Now, the problem is with Veracrypt is you can't use it on anything that isn't... You can use it everywhere, but with like Lux encryption, like what Tomb uses, you can't move it to like, I don't know, like Windows or like Apple. Whereas like a Veracrypt, you can do it like quite literally anywhere. You can't do that on what's it called? Yeah, Veracrypt on ext4. Why is there slow mode, by the way? Would you like me to turn it off? I mean, Nightbot will still catch spam, so it's not that big of a deal. Hey, I just did it because that's what everyone does. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Would you like me to turn it off? We can turn it off. I think. How do you turn it off? Let's find out how to turn off slow mode. Community moderation. Activity. I don't know if they'll let me do it if I keep going. Maybe not. I think it's something... No, you are not banned. We can see you. Pro tip, if you have an incognito tab open, you can see if you get banned or not. Still not around much. Yeah, because it's past the 2-hour mark. Peaceful people are gone, so... This option requires blah, blah, blah. Yep. I know, Tomb. I know. I wanted to do Tomb for a while. It's just very hard to make it interesting. I might try to lump it into a bigger video. But I feel like Veracrypt is an important one enough that I could just make its own video because of how widely used it is. Did you really spend 2 hours booting? Nope. That was a joke. That was only for like a couple, like a minute. I think people were more shocked. I was shocked too at how fast, like under pressure, I was able to like boot up. All right, let me turn on GitLab, because I'm logging into GitLab right now because I got kicked out of GitLab because how do you do this? Because I got kicked out of GitLab because they've technically perceived my computer, despite me moving my Flatpak configs, as like a new computer. Verification code. Yep. Okay, great. Time for some little tricky McGiggles. Not this one. This one. All right. Speedrunning Linux reboot. Yeah, just type reboot. And just type in your full disk encryption password. You have one, right? Okay, great. All right, GitLab. Everyone, my favorite. I haven't figured out quite how this works yet. I've had to get explainers from people I know, which is that's how you know it's bad, that you have to get an explainer from like other people to like just figure this out. What do you think about the Reddit blackout? I don't use Reddit. Reddit's a bunch of scumbags. Veracrypt can do steganography, so I thought of using it instead of Lux. Like, Veracrypt does not do steganography. It's not the same thing. Steganography is hiding it as a innocuous file. Veracrypt is not steganographic at all. Oh, you know what I forgot to mention? Oh crap! I hit my table. You know what? You know what I forgot to mention? You remember Fedora Silverblue? Do you want to know one thing that really peeves me off about Fedora people? What people, not Fedora Silverblue, but what people say about Fedora Silverblue? Okay. Okay, hear me out on this one, all right? Everyone says Fedora Silverblue is more secure than normal Fedora, which is true in a way, but not the way you might think. Now, what is that? What does that mean? A lot of people claim that because Fedora Silverblue is immutable, that you can that viruses can't stay on it. That is not true. Because you can install stuff into the root directory. Let's say like you get a virus. Virus installs thing in your home folder that starts in your like .config/auto start, right? You're screwed. Like you're gonna get hit by malware because they just put a shell script which doxes you in your /auto start in your auto start folder. Like if you're on GNOME or KDE, you're dead. You're gonna get game over, right? Like, Fedora Silverblue is not more secure in that regard. But you could say, well, what if they get root privileges? And then if you reboot, then it erases the thing, right? No, it doesn't. Because Fedora Silverblue only lets you go through official channels to get packages. And as a result, because you can only go through official channels, it's not more secure from those. So it's not that either. Fedora Silverblue and these immutable distros are not more secure, right? They're not more secure in that way. What they're more secure from is they're more secure from your system collapsing on you. Because if your system collapses on you, now that's a total different thing altogether. Like, that provides you security and it gives you a way to hide back. It can hide a volume in a seemingly chunk of data, but that's not steganography. That's just a hidden volume. Hidden volume is not steganography, and it's also still vulnerable to, of course, the age-old rubber hose attack, which is they just hit you with a wrench until you tell them. You know, XKCD. Everyone knows that. I hope you know that comic. Hit you with a wrench until you tell them what's inside. But steganography, you need to use. There's a bunch of other tools, like for example, the North Korean state attacking group. They used a thing where they embedded a virus inside of a .wav file that they emailed around to some people. Like, that's an example of steganography. Like, if he played the WAV file, it would actually play audio, right? When you do a Veracrypt hidden volume and you try to double click on it, it's not going to open in anything. Like, unless you have ZuluCrypt installed, or like, it's not going to open anything. Actually, I don't even think ZuluCrypt would open it, even if you had ZuluCrypt installed in your computer. Red Star OS is the best OS. Everyone should use it. But you can't. The most recent version of Red Star OS is like shrouded in secrecy. Like the only like Red Star OS 4, it looks like they reverted back. They still use Fedora, but it looks like they reverted back to like Windows XP, because if you look at documentaries of North Korea, yeah, there are computers that still run Windows XP in North Korea. I mean, it's not like they touch the internet, so it doesn't even matter for them. But you know, it's just a little weird, don't you think? It's like, you think that they would like black out like any computer running American, like, you know, like operating systems on it. But no, there's still systems in North Korea that run Windows XP. And I mean, I think Kim Jong-un still uses an iMac, but I don't know how true that is anymore. It's said that Kim Jong-un likes Apple, but they've moved away from that. The leaked version of Red Star OS that was leaked to like the South Korea Times said like that the OS looks the crummy screenshots that they showed looks more like Windows XP again. So like they've kind of gone back and forth. Remember before Red Star OS 3, which is that one of the green wallpaper and the dock and KDE that everyone knows, it used to be just looks more like Windows XP. I think it was also still running KDE, but the same thing. You know, our terminology is a bit off, but the thing isn't. It cannot be proven that there's a hidden volume. It may not stand out to the feds, but it would to the British checkpoint. Look, man, rule of border checkpoints, do not encrypt anything and don't even bring like your normal stuff with you. Like, don't even like install anything sneaky, no hidden partitions, nothing. Do not install anything. Just bring yourself a vanilla computer and have like a VPS or cloud storage for you to recover all of your stuff that you need on the other end of the border. Like, do not even install anything, because like just have like a copy of like Windows like on the computer and just look like a sheep and just go when you go in. Like, I don't even bring a phone when I go like overseas or like over country borders, like, because, and if they ask me how come you don't have your phone, I can say, well, because my phone won't work if I go to your country. I mean, unless it's Canada, but Canada never asked me questions about that anyway. But let's say you go to like, I don't know, Belgium, right? And then Belgium asks, if I go into customs and like security or whatever, they ask me, how come you don't have a phone? And I say, because I don't have a phone, because my phone doesn't work in your country. You have a different baseband. So, and then they're like, okay, fine. And then they let me in, because that's the reality, because you can't use your phone. They get that, okay? Like, you gotta look as normal as possible when you travel to other countries. Like, don't do any of this hidden volume stuff. You're just gonna get caught. Like, it raises red flags. There are some like border agents that are trained to look for these things, and it's just gonna make you look bad. And it's gonna waste your time, and you don't want that. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. I'm sorry, young kids, but it's the truth. Did you read about the news what happened in France? They arrested 7 people because they were using Linux and encrypted their hard drive. But the complicated part about France, which I'm sure was not mentioned in the article, is France is part of the Nine Eyes or whatever. So like they have like, they're probably some sort of ulterior investigation that we're not being told about, because this is how secretive some of the Nine Eyes are about some of their stuff. I did hear about that, although I don't approve of them using EOS though. That's a little sus, but sure. EOS, gosh, don't use EOS. Full disk encryption is not strange or weird. Most people bring work. Yeah, but not if it's Linux. If it's Windows, it's not going to raise an eyebrow. But if it's Linux, then it will raise an eyebrow. And this is what I mean. It's like you need to blend in as much as possible. Don't like bring a Kali Linux laptop to a thing, okay? It's gonna raise eyebrows. Just don't do it. Like, I'm just telling you, it's like the best way to deal with these things is to not. Yeah, I know. I'm sure you brought your phone into another country just fine. I'm just saying, as a best practice, don't bring like your personal device into another country that way. It's just asking for trouble. Now I could, because I can access my VoIP numbers on the other side of the border, but it's even then, it's just don't do it. And with Windows, it's like if you turn on BitLocker, fine, whatever. But like if you're just gonna blow it away anyway, it's like I wouldn't even bother. Okay, website time. Enough about hearing me complain about like border checkpoints and being arrested. POV, use NixOS, and none of the viruses works, since NixOS doesn't like random executables, since it uses different paths and stuff. But someone could write a virus specific to NixOS, or a script specific enough to dock someone on NixOS. So even NixOS is not more secure. It's just a different... They're not more secure, it's just a different way of packaging, like, stuff. Right? That's why you put Windows on the regular partition. Seriously, look into it. I know you can do it, but you still have to enter in like a password, like, and there's a different password when you set up the hidden partition. I know you can do it. I'm not saying you should. It's like, it doesn't seem worth it, especially with Veracrypt. You have to disable secure boot. That's a big L if you ask me. Having to disable secure boot on Veracrypt? Yikes. What do you use for a dual boot? Just use 2 separate drives. All these people saying you can install Linux alongside your don't do it. Unless if it's a Mac. Sure. go for it, because macOS is pretty friendly towards you installing Linux alongside macOS, because you can just resize some stuff in disk utility and it's fine. But on Linux, on Windows, don't do it. Just use a separate drive. Like, I'll show you, because oh, whoops, can't do that. Whoops, I need to not show that. Was this anything critical? No, it was not. This is just like random gibberish. It's just my GitLab. Okay, thank God. That was a leak. That was bad. That could have been bad. I'm gonna have to repull stream from that. All right, whatever. The point is, if you look for Asahi Linux, again, Asahi Linux also requires the dual boot. So you're not exactly but it's because it works, right? When you use other distros, it just doesn't work. Right? Because other distros just does not work. Let me, you want to see this? I'll show you. It's GitLab. I found out how to do it. It took me 1,000,000 years. I found out how to do it. Ugh. Before stream and my computer gets nuked. Yeah, because I had to upload this before my computer got nuked. You know my computer got nuked? It was so bad. My computer got nuked. So what I did was I had to delete some stuff, but this is the website. The MacBook 2017 of Arch Linux. Hey, nice. Probably, I mean, the battery life's probably awful, but, you know, it's been 6 years. I think that's expected. Hey, my poor old computer here is 6 years, and the battery life hasn't quite gone yet. Not quite. Still... Oh, I broke Secure Boot on my laptop, so, like, I need to fix it. I got it working for a little bit, but now it doesn't work. Oh, whoops. I need to fix it. Basically, this is Git. I found out how to do it. Do you want to know how I found out how to do it? No one told me. It was a bugs writer video. Remote backup server is the safest option, but not always viable. Also taught there was a way to get secure boot. I just have to find the article. Not with Veracrypt, unfortunately. Sorry. Veracrypt is like, it's kind of boomer days of. I mean, it was yet. Well, keep in mind it was TrueCrypt. Veracrypt was TrueCrypt from way back when. Times were very different when Veracrypt was first written. When TrueCrypt was around. I mean, today when you use Windows, BitLocker is pretty nice. My opinion, dual boot is positive for years. Look, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying for your safety and your system safety, don't do it. Wait till Windows deletes your grub. Then you're gonna have a great time. Battery life is a true pain though. Yeah. Welcome to I have secure boot off because I haven't bothered setting it up when I did my Arch install. I don't know how you do it on Arch. I know with Fedora and SUSE, they make it in Ubuntu, they make it really easy. But with Arch, there is extra steps you have to take where you have to draw Fedora's own key and then write something with Drake. I think. I don't remember what you have to do. It's been way too long. Like what I used to do to install Arch back to, like I have an Arch install script. Doesn't work anymore. Like, which is why I've never published it. It doesn't work because it's on the 2017 or 2016 Arch Linux, which is totally different from like the way Arch Linux is today because of how like booting works and partitions and blah, blah, blah. And I thought it wouldn't be that different, but apparently it is that different. So it doesn't work anymore. Like I remember trying it a couple of years ago, black screen. Oh, okay. Which means Grub didn't install. No, Grub installed correctly, but it couldn't load the OS or decrypt the drive transparently. So I was like, oh, that means it's not working now. And I don't want to have to go through that. Like, look, an Arch install's there, But if Arch install has a thing which hooks up Fedora or Ubuntu's like shim key into the thing so you can use it, that'd be pretty cool. I'd love that. So this is how you use Git, okay? Submodule. So this is because I use a theme, a pre-built theme. I ain't writing my own theme. I know I could, but I probably could, but I don't want to. I use papermod. Anyone doesn't know, papermod is this one. You've probably seen it before. I don't know of any. Remember, I can't name any big websites off the top of my head that do use it. I know Seth Simmons uses it, but he's the only one that I know who uses it. That's probably why I started using it. He made some modifications to it, but I am doing something a little different. That's what I use. So that updates. So when I go back over here, let me just open this in another tab. This is why you run this. It updates papermod. So it works just fine. Git add dot, which adds everything because I'm lazy. Technically, you're supposed to add every individual little file, but I am not doing that. I am lazy. Echo commit, and then what this does is this, you type in the commit, what you want for your commit. Usually it's just me getting angry at Git. I'm pretty sure if you look at my last couple commits, they're like just me being angry. Reduce size of robots.txt. Remove public. For real this time. Remove public. Git hates me. F you Git. Date. Remove public. GitLab not gay. Merging sucks. Basically, I just insulting Git like all the way in my like commits. I think like pretty sure anyone who deals with like reading my Git commit history is gonna hate me. All right, and then push commit, done. And then that's basically what I use to sync everything. Now, ideally, what it does is I push it to the website and then sync everything to GitLab. So I have a stock command, rsync command right here. So I would use rsync, push the thing to a remote server, probably in a container or something. No, push it to my remote server, and then the container builds the public folder and the nginx config and stuff and puts it in the correct places within the container and then runs it. That is the goal. That is the goal. And then I did write a few buttons. They're not great. They're kind of boring. So like for example, this isn't one of them. this is me trying to edit social buttons. I think there's you haven't seen my Git history. Well, I don't read Git history because I'm so bad at it. But one thing that I'm trying to work on here, I think it's in this one. No, it's not this one. It's in SVG. So if I go to SVG, I misspelled Mastodon. I spelled Mastodon correctly. So what this does is this adds a social icon for Mastodon. And for the social icon for Mastodon, what I'm trying to do is I want to edit the shortcode so that it gets the rel me, so I get the verified checkmark on Mastodon, because that's how that works. You want to get the verified checkmark on Mastodon, because when my Mastodon currently links, like will link the website, and then the website will get the checkmark because I got the the ampersand rel equals me in the thing. I don't know how to do it because I have to play with the theme to get the rel me. Probably way to do it. Oh, and then robots.txt. I just dropped everything. I was like, this doesn't seem worth it because robots.txt doesn't listen to anything, so I just deleted everything. But I still need to, I need to issue a DMCA request to archive.org because someone uploaded me there. It's not like you're going to find anything, but someone uploaded me there, and I'm going to make them stop because I can send them a DMCA request and make them stop. This is what you need to do. And then I need to write a thing into Cloudflare or Nginx and block, like, what's it called? What do you call them? Archive.today. It's not like you're going to find anything interesting. And it's not like anyone can find this repository. But, like, I still need to, like... Because it's like... Let me put it this way, okay? It's not like Git was private. Because Git is not private. Everyone doing, like, private repos of Git, it's like, what a joke. Like... Do not put like any. There's a reason why GitLab had to and GitHub had to like now do like this AI searching in people's code because of people publishing literal sensitive secrets in their Git repos. Don't be like those people. Like, you need to do under auto git. No, this is auto git. Under content. Now this is the fun part, okay? There is one folder I cannot open here, and that one folder is this one, which is called ng words. This folder contains everything I am not allowed to mention on any platform that I am on. Like, for example, on YouTube, I cannot mention anything about the Y word, which must not be named. I cannot mention anything about the K word that lets you stream your home movies. I can't talk about that one, right? Stuff like that. But there are more innocent pages here. Like, for example, here I have RSS feeds. Now, it's not consistent right now. And I did /feed because, you know, like in WordPress, right? If you do like /feed, it gives you the auto-generated WordPress feed. That's why I chose to do this. So you can click on the link and it takes you to channels. And then it has all these things here. Mastodon, Twitter. I don't know what the state of Knitter. No, Knitter works fine. It's Reddit that's like in the poopy. No, Reddit's RSS feeds still work fine. But I don't even use Reddit, so like doesn't even matter. RSS feeds. There's a search bar. This is the default though. Default search bar. A donate page, which is pretty simple. I'm not going to dwell on it too much or else YouTube might get mad. And here is my specs. For the guy who asked about my specs, this is what it is. It's this thing. And then email. I'm very careful because I don't actually list my email. What I try to do is I try to include my email at the end of like videos now. So if you really want to, like get my email, you got to watch my videos or skip to the end of my videos to get my email. That's how it just eliminates the people who, weeds out the people who actually care. And then videos. So this is the cool thing about videos is I've actually improved this a lot, but I've moved more towards tagging everything as like guides. Like, for example, Linux guide, right? This is an example of the gaming video. Gaming video I tried to separate because if it's a guide, what it does is it's not a direct read. Some of it was a direct read, but I did cut some of it from the video. So there is some extra stuff in here. And the idea is with the guides is you can expand upon. Yes, you can be banned if you mention certain... Okay, not if you mention, but if you even show it, you can get banned. Like, that's the... Like, if you show people how to use it, you can get banned. One of which I have gotten a strike over. So, just... That strike's gone. That never took place because it was my warning. But, just so you know... There are stuff you can get banned off of software. You can get banned off of YouTube for mentioning, you know, like a certain I word, which cannot be named, which is getting litigation from YouTube as we speak right now, even though they probably didn't read the documentation or understand what's actually happening. Like, that's an example of something you can get banned on YouTube over. Okay, you won't get banned, but you'll get demonetized. At a minimum, you will get demonetized. Like, you're not allowed to mention that kind of thing. It's not allowed. No. Basically, you can go into here and get the thing. But this is actually complete now. Because this is, some of it is script. Some of this is... Let me see upcoming content. I need to look for upcoming. This is not organized. This is a problem with this. It needs to be organized, and it's not organized. This is a... Oh, wait. This one. I'm not going to open this one. This is the video for 2 weeks from now. I've already written it with my extra time, so I'm sort of catching up. Anyone who pays for me, they know I'm trying to play catch up. Secure boot is going to be one of the next things I want to talk about. Secure boot is like, oh man, I've wanted to do this for such a long time. But after doing it, it makes me wonder why more people don't do it. And, well... I know why people don't do it, but it's just historical. That's a bit dumb. It's YouTube's platform. They can do whatever they want. If you don't like it, you can go somewhere else. You know what to do. So you can go and thing. So secure boot is the next thing I want to do. I'm pretty sure I have a thing floating around for Firefox because I want to redo the Firefox one because I want to cover more stuff in Firefox, which I didn't talk about, like profile management, setting up a hotkey on Mac and Linux is this thing you can do, or like having like a custom desktop shortcut on Windows so you can get access to Firefox's profile manager. Like that's something that I want to do. Or like actually showing people going into task scheduler and disabling that stupid task in Windows, which Firefox has only on Windows, which checks to see if Firefox is your default browser or not, because yes, that is real and it's annoying. I don't know why Mozilla even bothers. It's like is it ruining Mozilla as a product? Maybe. But next after that is my install script, which has mostly been completed. I have fixed some of the permission stuff in the script because it didn't go correctly. At least they aren't banning the streamers. We're streaming on multiple platforms on what you mean Twitch? Twitch has never treated me well. Let me tell you that. I have not had a good time with them. Like, let me put it this way. I get double the viewers here I got on Twitch. No, that was even when I started. Like, when I started here, it's more like 8 times the number of viewers I got on Twitch. By that, I mean I only got like 1 person on Twitch, which is probably me moderating stream. So it's like, nope. I'm probably not going to do Twitch again. If anything, Twitch is just going to be backup and solely backup. Twitch and Odyssey at this point are just solely backup. Odyssey because like I can't stand dealing with like their support. Odyssey's support is like really makes me question my sanity, and then I realize that I'm the sane one and they're just crazy because like they were like, oh, you can't use your pre-existing account with pre-existing videos, you need to delete that account and make a new one. But then when they maybe make the new one, they didn't even sync all of my videos properly. Oh, Odyssey, come on. Oh, all right. I do think that Twitch doesn't care for smaller creators and grow organically. What about the ones that... Yeah, so basically, I keep forgetting the chat's delayed. Basically, this is why you can't, like, trust, like, you just can't. You just can't. If you should put literally 0 effort into a live stream experience, Twitch would be game overed by now. I mean, I would say they haven't. I would say if YouTube put more than like 10% of effort, because they aren't even doing more than 10% of effort right now. I mean, like, YouTube deletes comments on my videos all the time. Like, there are some videos, like, I acknowledge that, like, I understand why. All right, let me show you. Let me show you. I know this is a little weird, but let me show you. I'm going to go to YouTube Studio. Let me show you. It's usually something I only show patrons, but I'll show you anyway. I can show you revenue. YouTube doesn't pay me nothing. $45? That's this entire year. Can't even get that much. What's that? It's an entire year? That's how much you get paid minimum wage in 3 hours in the United States. Yeah, nothing. All right, let me tell you about statistics. People ask me frequently, how come you get videos or sometimes don't get like many views? Well, the answer is because the videos might be something that I want, but not necessarily like what other people want. Like some things in here perfectly coincided because of the time that I chose to do it. Like for example, the Windows one, I was already planning to do this. Like I put up a post on like Patreon basically saying I wanted to do something specifically just for Windows. But what this resulted in was while I was writing that video and while I was editing that video, Linus Tech Chips uploads this video about Atlas OS, and I wanted to, and when I found out about that, I wanted to tear him a new one. I was like, no, just no. We cannot do this. We need to do something about this. And I'm glad I was already in the middle of writing this one anyway. So that's why the Windows one actually did really well. Then this one, Alpine, right? Apparently, if you go on r/Linux, I think, someone asked a question specifically about how to install Alpine Linux. And this is what, and then when people As a result of that, people ended up starting searching for that, which means I got a percentage of the people who showed up to that Reddit post too, which also boosts numbers. And then, for example, which one? Not this one. This one. This one got a lot of views because that was when the Linux cast called me out. That video, this was the video that was one of my most recent uploads. So he pointed people to this one, and this is why this video has a lot of views. So I'm just saying, there's a reason. There's numeric reasons for why all of this exists. This one just because kids in their video games. Oh, I don't get it. I don't have time for video games. Microsoft build. I'm surprised this one gets as many as it. I always find that like Microsoft and Apple do the best out of all of my stupid tech event watchathons. Like the so then we have yeah, basically that's it. This is what I'm working on. This is how viewing stuff works. This is I'm trying, okay? I think I figured decrypted Podman. I have a rough idea of what I need to do. It's just putting it into action. Then I will have to look into VPS prices. I think they've gotten worse. I think VPS prices actually have gotten worse. Unlisted video. Yeah, there's a story behind. Go on Mastodon. There's a story behind that one. And the other one is a patron video, so sorry. But the first video was, if you go look on Mastodon, it's because some people got angry at me because they're like, how come you said Chrome wasn't secure? I'm like, well, how come you didn't say it in the documentation? And then they were like, oh, I'm sorry. And then I said and I was like, yeah, you should be. I'm sorry too, but you shouldn't just expect me to know, like, all right, it's complicated. I'm not going to get into it. It's not worth my time. I don't want to bash them either. They come from a good place. So don't be mad at them. I don't even know. No, that was a DM. I don't think you even saw that conversation. It was a DM. So don't be mad. Like it was my fault. Okay. So it's on me. So don't give anyone grief. All right. Great. I need to work on this. I'm actually really hot right now. And for some reason, I want to have dinner. And all of a sudden, the sun just went out. Oops. By the sun went out, I mean a cloud literally just went over, like, my head. Okay. I am going to... I might have to see if I need to, like... I don't know if I should... No one is mad. Oh, well, thank you. I need to go and see if I need to... do anything, because usually what I have to do is, and I try to do this. Oh, I found out how to disable slow mode. Haha. I need to actually pull the stream, and then what I do is I have to edit it for people on Odyssey, because I have to upload it on Odyssey, and I have to pull stream. So like I have to do all sorts of stuff. So like I think, where is it? I'll skip. Oh, this is ads. Gross. My rule is of ads, it's like you can't skip them, I'm not doing them. You can skip them, that's fine, and it's only to get the people, and I don't know why there's 2 tags with my name on it, which is probably why this got nowhere, as opposed to the other one. Alright, well, I think I'm gonna end now. I'm just tired. I've been talking for 4 hours. 3 hours. 3.5 hours. And I could read emails, but I think I need to go lie down and rethink. I'm gonna go lie down, and instead of selling deck sticks, I'm gonna go rethink my life. So I'll try to linger a little bit, but I know we're ending here, so I'm gonna try to do my best to do this. But I'm thinking we can end right about now. Literally mentioned an Apple commercial book. No, I haven't edited it yet. Yeah, it's already 3 hours. Yeah. No, I need to edit WWDC. I think you guys will like it. I had a blast. It's fun to edit these. It's also nice because I don't have to think about a thing to do for a week. I can just laugh at the horrible state of the world. Because who's gonna spend money on a $3,500 pair of like swimming goggles? Not me. All right. Well, I think before I go, I didn't do this last time, but I need to. Oh, it's outdated, I think, but I need to actually pop up. Oh, it's locked up in my backups. Well, I'm gonna verbally do it because this is how it's gonna work. I'm going to verbally thank Moonwar. Hello, hey, did you know how to use Vim? Yes, I know how to use Vim. Really easy. Takes only about half an hour. Right. Okay, it took me like a week of forcing myself to use it for half an hour a day, but it's fine. You'll learn it in no time. Just don't use Windows when you use Vim. Apple commercial book, a certain dark sci-fi book from a British author. Oh, that book. Wait, you can't mention that book? Really? Oh, I guess maybe you can. If you can, that's okay. The about there was a, you know what's funny about that Apple commercial? I think that was when like Apple was starting to like spiral downwards because of like Steve Jobs is too difficult to deal with, so he got fired like shortly after that commercial. No, it was like not that one, but it was the release of the Lisa that was like the what got Steve Jobs fired from Apple originally. All right, I need to stop. I'm just gonna keep talking if I don't. I don't know how to quit it. Press escape and then colon Q or ZQ to whatever. It's fine. It's fine. All right, we're gonna do brand. I'm gonna read names because this is I can't. All right, here we go. All right, it is. It's awful. I'm just gonna do it as a desktop share. It's a little inaccurate because there's some people who haven't pledged yet. All right, so we have Mike, Brian, Carlos. Not Mike anymore, but I'll give him out anyway. Chris. There's one other person. Aiden, I think. Jack, Orion Cat, Gnarly, Kevin, Fatine, Mislav, and then there's one more person, which if you give me a moment, I have to dig up on YouTube because that happened in the last days while I was trying to fix my computer. The days I fixed my computer, I couldn't catch. It is Oscar. Easy. Jeez, why is Nightbot deleting all of my stuff? No! Stop it. Nightbot, no! Those were good comments! How do you enable comments? Oh, I need to go to Nightbot and do it, don't I? Oh, alright, whatever. Stream's over. Thank you for stopping by. I hope to see you all later, and I am going to make my streaming